This guy looks like he's about to starve to death. He's even considering eating a cockroach. Just then, a little kid walks by, and his eyes lock onto whatever the boy is holding. He's drooling. That must be delicious, right? He starts tailing the kid, looking like he's about to kidnap the poor boy. Wait, is he trying to steal that kid's soda? The boy gets terrified and starts running away. Help! Our blonde guy shifts his gaze to a nearby flower pot, thinking about grabbing a bite to ease his growling stomach, when a sudden piercing scream makes him stop. Not far away, the boy is shaking uncontrollably. It turns out a terrifying three-eyed monster bird is right in front of him. It snaps its razor-sharp beak and instantly snatches the boy's backpack. Luckily, the kid ditches the bag to save his life. If that thing had caught him instead, he'd be finished. Our blonde guy sees this and wonders, what kind of crazy planet is this bird as big as an entire building? Deep in his hazy memories, he recalls he can eat birds. With a totally narcissistic look on his face, he starts plotting should he steam it with lime leaves or just roast the whole thing. He feels mana surging through his body so much it's unreal. To compare, the mana on his previous planet was just a bucket of water, while here on Earth it's like an entire ocean. He starts bragging again. I'm basically invincible now. Up ahead, the kid's pleas for help keep ringing out. The blonde guy puts on a dangerous look and makes an offer. I'll help you, kid, but you have to give me whatever you're holding. The kid agrees immediately, thinking it's no big deal. The guy stands in front of the boy, looking cool. Stand back, I'm about to show you how it's done. He gathers his mana with both hands to unleash his ultimate move, but a whole minute goes by and absolutely nothing happens. So much for looking cool. He awkwardly scratches his head. That was just a practice round, kid. Watch this, I'm doing it for real now. He keeps firing off ultimate moves, but still nothing changes. The kid is just thinking, is this guy insane or what? We're about to die. Still flailing around, the blonde guy's expression turns serious. My magic isn't working, time to bail. He runs away screaming for help, but that confident act he put on earlier really ticked the bird off, and now it's chasing him. There are so many people on the street. Why is he so unlucky? He immediately changes course, diving into narrow alleys to lose it. But it doesn't work. That giant, steamed with lime leaves bird is flying right overhead. It's lightning fast and already right behind him. From hunter, he's about to become the main course. While running, he realizes something is wrong. Is this body sick? He trips and rolls onto the ground. The giant bird charges at him with blinding speed. Boom! The impact of his fall actually causes him to dodge the fatal blow, and the bird slams headfirst into a concrete wall. It dies on the spot. Well, that's lucky. He slowly walks over to examine it, wondering how to prep it. Just then, a voice calls out, "How did you take that thing down?" He turns around to see a beautiful woman in a suit, her expression one of utter shock. Earlier, the kid in the blue cap had alerted the public security, and she's one of the hunters who arrived on the scene. Based on the kid's description, she guesses the monster is a beginner killer, a species that thrives in desert regions. They start as E rank, but these things suddenly jump to C rank because of their speed. Her face pales with worry. Even a C rank hunter would get wrecked by this thing. A regular person shouldn't have survived at all. But now the monster bird is laid out, leaving her completely stunned. She mistakenly thinks he's a professional hunter and starts thanking him profusely while he has no clue what a hunter is. The girl is still sizing him up, thinking he must be at least C rank or higher because the bird is so fast that even average C ranks usually end up as bird food. The blonde guy ignores them completely and walks straight toward the kid, his face dead serious. He holds out his hand. "Don't forget our promise, kid." The kid reluctantly hands over the soda. He takes a sip and exclaims, "This is amazing, I've never tasted anything this good before." He drinks it with such gusto that the girl is stunned. Did he just rob a child? She introduces herself as Jian from the Hunter Association and asks to see his hunter ID to file a report. Beside her, the blonde guy is still happily drinking his orange juice. Hunter ID is that edible. This makes her furious. It's the official ID issued by the association after you pass the ability assessment. Don't tell me you don't even have one of those either. The blonde guy decides to bluff, saying he left it at home and quickly slips away. This makes the girl even more curious. Who exactly is he? It turns out he isn't from this world. He was a high-ranking alien, a legendary mage. But he had been working endless overtime, slaving away for the corporate machine, not even able to eat or sleep because his body had evolved. In the end, he risked everything to perform a soul-splitting ritual, to reincarnate on Earth, hoping to be the most powerful mage. But luck was against him. This body is a total wreck, and even the memories of the body's original owner are scrambled. Back home, he digs through his ID and finds out his name is Kiryu. Looking at the pile of overflowing ashtrays, he remembers something. This body was a heavy smoker. He clenches his fist in anger because this is exactly why he can't channel mana. The cigarette smoke has built up and damaged his lungs. Damn it. But he quickly regains his composure. He is the strongest mage. He won't let something so trivial ruin him. Or so he says. Yet just a day later, he's at the police station working with the officers. Crazy, right? 10 minutes have passed in his personal investigation. A few hours ago, while wandering the streets and feeling incredibly hungry, Gyro was clutching his stomach, drooling. There are a billion things to investigate on Earth, but he needs to solve this malnutrition problem first. A little girl spots him and asks her mom, "Mom, what's wrong with that man?" Her mother signals her to be quiet. Wait, he freezes. What is that smell? Hiro stands in front of a restaurant suspicious of the aroma. Pork soup. He walks right in. A moment later, a steaming bowl of porridge appears before him. Here is your pork soup. He happily grabs his spoon and hums. Who knew there was food around here? I made things so hard for myself. Time to test it out. He scoops up a giant spoonful and puts it in his mouth. Suddenly, the flavor explodes. He's stunned. It's so good, it's hot, but so delicious, I can't stop my hand from moving. But that's just that part. How on earth did this guy end up in the police station again? The officers sitting in front of him judged him. Are we at war or something? Why does a young guy like you have to run away after eating like that? Jiro awkwardly replied, I really forgot. At that same moment, another officer saw him and recognized him. Hey, isn't this that hunter from before? He decided to let him go, saying, don't do that again. Okay, I'll let you go this time. It felt like a first warning, so he met him and said, thanks. I'll definitely pay the restaurant back. Can I go now? The officer pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket. Ah, wait. Before you go, take this. Investigations suggest you're an unregistered hunter with the guild. You must have just awakened recently. He then handed him a referral slip. Here. Try stopping by the Awakening Evaluation Center. Don't worry, the test fee is completely free. Then he walked away. But the other officer shouted, reminding him, remember to go, I'm so jealous. He looked suspiciously at the flyer. What is this awakening they're talking about? Is this something everyone on Earth is supposed to know? He kept mumbling to himself. Maybe I should check it out. It's not that far. Following the directions on the paper a few minutes later, Zero stood in front of a large building, the evaluation center. His eyes lit up, wondering, was Kim Jiro ever here before? Suddenly he froze. I remember now. Kim Jiro was an F-rank awakened. Just then, a voice spoke up, catching Jiro's attention. Hello, we meet again. It turned out to be Uzion. Hello, she asked. What brings you to the guild, since you're already here? Could you give it to me? She held out her hand. That hunter license. It triggered a memory from this body. A hunter license, I'll bring it right away. A second later, he felt a jolt of anxiety. Oh no, I think I lied about that before. That I would bring it. Luckily, he remembered a bit so he could answer. He regained his composure. Sorry about that. I was panicked back then, but actually I don't have a hunter license yet. She crossed her arms, looking helpless. No wonder you didn't come back. Then he calmly said, but I am a registered awakened. I just didn't make a card because I was so disappointed with the result. That surprised Uzion. Ah, he replied coldly, I'm F rank. This left Uzion in disbelief. You're F rank? Then how could you have caught a beginner killer? He glanced away trying to dodge the question. Just got lucky. The stupid bird just rammed its head into a wall. She felt so helpless she didn't even want to talk. A beginner killer that couldn't adapt to the environment and accidentally committed suicide. It wasn't impossible, but the person she saw at that time had such a relaxed expression as if he had killed hundreds of C-rank monsters. There wasn't a hint of fear. Why was he trying to hide his true strength? Most awakened who hide their rank are dangerous people involved in illegal activities. She started to see him in a different light. Could this person... Then Uzion started acting friendly. I see, you're very lucky. Beginner killers are known to have very low intelligence. Suddenly Zero had an idea. That's it. Earthlings use very subtle facial muscle movements to express emotions. I have to learn how to express them to seem more friendly. Let's try it. He tried moving the muscles of his face. Yes, I was truly lucky. It left her stunned. What is this expression? He's extremely suspicious. She then reassured herself that she needed to leave. Suddenly, Uzion rummaged through her pocket. Thinking about it, I have something for you. Oh, what's your name? I'm Kim Jiro. Then she handed him something. Okay, here, Jiro, take this. It turned out she gave him money. Zero wondered to himself, giving money as a greeting. What kind of universe has such a nice custom? Then she asked, why did you give this to me? She explained, you left the beginner killer's carcass behind. I had to process it, and that's your cut. Zero held the bill, unable to stop thinking about that bowl of porridge this morning. The one I ate earlier cost 8,001 per bowl. With just this thin piece of paper, I could eat 6 bowls. He hesitated, saying, I didn't expect that bird to be worth that much. Are their feathers expensive? She crossed her arms and replied, no. Beginner killer bodies are very soft, so they have no value. But you're very lucky. It had a magic stone inside. A C-rank one is worth about 2 million won. That made his jaw drop. Wait, 2 million won. But my share is only 50,000 won. She slowly explained about that. The damage you caused when catching that monster. She recalled when she was scolded. The cost of repairing the road, the cost of fixing the pedestrian bridge. You did a good job, by the way. It was all under my name. Her words were like arrows piercing him. If those people hadn't run away, we could have legalized the hunt. He lowered his head, his face darkening. I'm sorry. It's fine. Have a good afternoon. Zero watched Uzion's back as she left. He held the money in his hand, looking very angry. 2 million won back home, that bird wouldn't be anything more than a bug crawling on the road. 200,000 won for snapping a bird's neck. That's 75 bowls of soup and rice. To survive, I need money. And I came to this earth to have a happy life, to enjoy that ideal life. I need much more money. Then he smiled strangely. I must become a hunter, truly. Until this lunch, my future was so bleak. The owner of this body was poor, dirt poor. Burning money on a bowl of soup would have wiped out all the savings. But now it's different. I know that being a hunter can earn money, so I will hunt with magic and make a living. Even though I can't use magic yet. He thought seriously. I need a decent amount of monsters. Suddenly, a passerby shouted, over there, there's a gate opening. It caught his attention. A gate? Everyone started whispering and marveling at the gate. Oh, this is my first time seeing an actual gate. No way can it really be that big. Then he looked at what people call a hunter's gate. Gates are graded based on their mana density, and the higher the rank, the greater the danger. The monsters inside get stronger too. He chuckled to himself. The mana density is strange. They say monsters actually live in there. I need to analyze this. But with this many people, it's hard to enter. Is there a gate nearby? Suddenly a stream of light appeared to guide him. What's this? He followed the light and discovered it himself. It's right nearby. After a long climb, he finally found out it was actually a different gate. Jiraiya panted, "Why is it so steep, damn it?" He crawled through the warning tape barrier. Earthlings have weird taste in decor. Why would they need to decorate with plants? Right after Zirao entered the gate, a group of people arrived. Yoon Seun made a call. "Hello, manager. We just arrived at the gate." The person on the phone replied, "Yoon Seun, are there any civilians nearby?" He looked at the safety barrier that hadn't been scratched at all and replied, "It's fine, the safety barrier has already been set up." The person on the phone complained, "These mutations are such a pain. This month alone, I don't know how many rank-ups there have been." He asserted, "Don't worry, we will begin the investigation immediately." He hung up and started leading the group. "Everyone, let's head in." Once deep inside, someone couldn't help but complain, "It stinks a cave in the middle of summer." Yoon Sung looked at the smartwatch on his wrist according to the readings. The mana density in this dungeon is at D rank. A member of the group clutched his neck, exhausted. "It's always like this. It's like a rule every time there's an incident at a gate, the level jumps up 2 ranks. Let's finish this quickly and go get a drink." Yoon Se-yoon looked around and looked worried. "Should we slow down a bit? We're moving a bit too fast." The 3 people turned back to look at him confused. "Huh, why?" He voiced his doubt. "We've been walking for quite a while, but we haven't seen any signs of monsters, that's why." One person approached to tease him. "Good grief. You're still young, why are you so scared? We have Yoon Se-yoon, an A-rank hunter on the team. What's there to worry about?" Suddenly, a massive monster appeared behind them without anyone noticing. On the other side, Ji-rae-won thought, "I think I've gone deep into the cave. Did I enter the wrong gate? How come I haven't run into any monsters yet?" Then suddenly that stream of light appeared before his eyes. He watched the light move and understood, this mana, even though it's scarce and raw, it's full of vitality. He decided to follow the light again. "Is this human? Are there other people in the gate too?" Suddenly, a shrill scream rang out. Zireo heard it and hid behind a large rock. What's going on over there?" He stood from afar and watched the research team being attacked by the monster. "What is that thing?" At this point, its hand was already drenched in blood. It turned out the researcher from before had been attacked and died after one punch. It didn't stop there. The monster eagerly raised its hand for another blow. Meanwhile, Yoon Se-yoon looked at his teammate lying flattened in front of him, while the others covered their mouths in fear. "Oh my god! They died after just one hit. No way." Suddenly, Yoon Se-yoon yelled, "Don't panic, stay sharp, if we make a mistake, we're all—" Suddenly they turned pale and screamed, "Yoon Se-yoon, behind you!" Instinctively, he acted fast. He opened his shield to block the monster's attack. The 2 of them grappled back and forth for a long time, but Yoon Se-yoon gradually realized he was losing strength. He pushed it away with all his might. After that, he slammed his shield into the ground, shattering the rocks into 100 pieces to throw off its movement. Taking advantage of the monster's distraction, Yoon Se-yoon leaped high and landed a critical blow on the monster. From behind the rock, after witnessing the epic fight, he couldn't help but praise, "Wow." After Yoon Se-yoon took down the monster, cold sweat suddenly trickled down his forehead. The 2 remaining teammates were still a bit scared, but couldn't help but admire him. As expected of Yoon Se-yoon, even though he's a defensive class, but A rank is A rank, he actually fought that giant. Then he stood up and glanced at his teammate who was lying motionless. "I'll heal Jaemin's body. Let's head back." Suddenly, a ghoulish purple light appeared, making Yoon Se-yoon suspicious. However, before he could turn around, an attack struck. It turned out that besides that one there were dozens of others lurking for them. It quickly grabbed Yoon Se-yoon and pinned his whole body to the ground, forcing him to cough up blood. Then the monster gripped him tight, lifted him high, and threw him far away, causing his teammate to panic. Seon. After that, the monster grabbed a large rock, planning to throw it at them. The male teammate quickly reacted using his spear to slice the rock in half, but the moment it touched the monster, his spear shattered into many pieces, leaving him panicked. The monster took the opportunity to knock him down with one strike. The remaining female teammate was terrified, not knowing what to do. She just stood there, her mouth trembling. With only one opponent left, it calmly raised its hand and punched straight at her. But before her life was in danger, Seon returned from the brink of death, rushing in to block the fatal blow for her. Despite his life hanging in the balance, he yelled, "Now is the time. Use the binding spell. If we don't stop that thing, we won't survive to leave this place." He struggled to shout, "The whole team will be wiped out. What are you waiting for? Hurry up." But surprisingly, a second later, she ran away to save herself, leaving Seon to face it alone. Where are you going? Are you abandoning us? And what about Jaemin? It wasn't right. The young man began to sink into despair. "Don't go, don't run away." While Seon's shield gradually cracked, he was immediately pinned down, flattened against the ground. Seeing that, he quickly let go. After confirming that his opponent was no longer capable of resisting, Seon's eyes gradually blurred. He felt that after being betrayed, it wasn't anger, but emptiness. "I received A rank awakened power thanks to the dungeon break phenomenon. Invitations from all sorts of major guilds poured in. Meeting good connections, forming a team, achieving achievements in conquering gates, everything looked like it was going very smoothly, but in the end, it all ended like this." The monster raised its foot, intending to crush him. He thought despairingly, "This is truly miserable." Suddenly, a stone hit the monster, drawing its attention. At that moment, Zerao stepped out calmly, saying, "Honestly, I can't bear to watch this anymore. So this is the true nature of Earthlings. Well. With this, I've finished the analysis." Zerao looked up at the monster in a relaxed manner. "Seeing it up close like this, it's clear now. But it's so outdated, isn't it? Well, that's fine. It's a pleasure to meet you here, Golem." Golems are objects made of clay using mana as an energy core. Golems hold countless roles in Alfori, from daily tasks like manual labor, chores, and construction to combat. Alfori is truly a nation built by the hands of golems. Even my own specialty is golem warfare. The reason there wasn't a single monster around is because this big guy was guarding the place. It seems this gate belongs to someone. Either way, I've already alerted the guard, so there's no way I can leave easily. He leisurely walked behind the golem. "I guess I have to have a fight. I can't use magic, but there's another way to deal with the golem's attacks." Zerao's face remained very calm as he adjusted his cuffs. Just before the golem launched its attack, Zerao quickly dodged. The stones under his feet where he had been standing were smashed to bits. The golem attacked frantically, its powerful blows easily dodged by him. Next were countless attacks coming at him, but as before, it only hit the air. But it seemed it wasn't done with him yet. It continued to throw a massive blow, and he was quickly sent flying back a dozen meters. The monster held that pose for a long time. Zerao realized his chance had come. Nice, the moment has arrived. The way to neutralize a golem is very simple. He quickly stood up. He ran quickly toward the monster. The gemstone carved onto the golem's arm. This gemstone isn't just for show, rather, it is a magical energy sensor device. I just need to install an emergency stop command into this sensor, and it's done. For security reasons, only the owner and the creator of the golem know the emergency stop command. But a type of golem as crude and simple as this is too easy to figure out the encryption code. Thinking that Zerao held his hand out in front of him as if preparing to cast power. Quickly the golem fell. Its fall created a loud noise in the stone cave. Seizing the opportunity, he climbed onto the golem's body. Since I only activated the emergency stop command, of course, it didn't completely stop functioning. To switch it to a deactivated state, I need to remove the core located in the central part of its back. He moved gradually toward the central core, whispering to himself, "This core needs to be removed." Zerao reached out to remove the stone. Doing this with bare hands wasn't the best choice. But what other choice did I have? Suddenly a pale blue light appeared. Zirao froze for a few seconds. In front of him now was the central core covered in wires under the stone layer. He quickly reached in. The wires connecting to the central core were immediately severed. He held the core out. Only the destroyed circuits remained emitting sparks into the air. The golem had truly stopped functioning. He looked at the core and smiled contentedly. Too easy. At that same moment, Yun Seo-un, who was lying motionless, suddenly had his hand move. His mother's words echoed in his head. Yun, Seo-un mom knows you want to be a hunter, but do you know how dangerous this job is? He smiled to reassure her. Don't worry, mom. It may look like that, but I'm an A rank awakened. His mother couldn't stop worrying. But mom is not wrong, right? Mom respects your wishes, but what if something happens? Yun Seo-un grasped his mother's hand, consoling her. Now I am a hunter recognized by everyone. So you don't need to worry. I promise I will show you success in my career as a hunter. Just this once, please believe in me, mom. The mother felt a bit faint at those words. After saying that, he turned his back and stepped toward the door. I'm leaving now. Suddenly his mother called out, Yun Seo-un. She cautioned, whatever you do, you must be careful. The image of his mother gave him intense vitality. He slowly opened his eyes, his trembling hand bracing against the ground. He tried to sit up. Suddenly his eyes narrowed. It turned out he saw Zirao standing there. What is this scene? What happened? He asked himself. He defeated that golem barehanded. How, more importantly, how did he get in here? I am certain there were guards checking people coming in and out. A thought flashed through his mind. Is he a hunter? Suddenly Zirao threw the destroyed core down. Yun Seo-un saw him approaching and was extremely worried. He's coming here. He moved with difficulty. Damn it. Suddenly his face went blank. At this moment, Zirao was standing right in front of him. Yun Seo-un was sweating with anxiety. He reached out and asked, Do you need any help? Scene changed to a high-rise office building. An annoyed voice rang out. These bastards writing these articles. Do you want to make headlines this way? Yun Seo-un was bandaged on his arm by this time, but the newspaper wasn't wrong. The director opposite him was extremely angry. Yun Seo-un, why did you have to wait until later? I understand it was another hunter who took down the monster, not you, but you don't even know that person's name. If that person were stronger than you, there's no way they wouldn't be famous. As he spoke, he held his iPad out in front of him. But, look, nobody knows that person. This person likely hasn't registered as a hunter yet. He kept rambling. It's fortunate that the reporter only focused on the A-rank monster. Besides, if you continue with this, listening to Yun Seo-un number, I couldn't hold it back anymore, so I slammed my hand on the table and stood up. Director, let me stop you there. This will only tarnish your reputation, Yun Seong. Even if you're an A-rank hunter, if you show people your weakness, you'll immediately become a target. You know that, right? Why won't you just say that you were the one who took down that golem? Before those words could finish, Yun Seong went silent for a long time. He clenched his fists and finally spoke. I'm sorry. I just felt it was better to be honest. It's the least amount of respect I can show that hunter. He definitely didn't seem like the type to do anything illegal. The director asked, Are you sure about that? Without a shred of hesitation, he insisted. If he had malicious intent, he wouldn't have let me live. He's a good person. I truly want to repay him. The director pushed up his glasses and made his decision. I understand. Since you've said as much, I'll take my leave now. He looked up and replied, Yes. And so Yun Seong left. Immediately after, the director was alone in the large room. He leaned back into the sofa, exhausted. A hunter who could easily kill a golem that even Yun Seong's team couldn't handle. Meanwhile, at GZ's cramped room, he was lying on a mattress messing around with a smartphone, his eyes sparkling. Earthlings are truly divine. I accidentally unlocked this phone last night. What is this? It had been like this all night. Right before his eyes were news articles. He wondered I can access information freely, even if I'm not part of the privileged class. Is this heaven? Thanks to this, I've gathered so much info. First, the gates I entered aren't private property. Second, each gate has different entry restrictions because Korea is a country that manages its awakened ones thoroughly. Entering a gate requires prior approval from the regulatory agency, the Korea Hunter Association, or Hung-hyu for short. And third, An Yun-seong isn't a thief trying to steal items from the gate. Zirao muttered while eating a snack. This guy is an A rank. His eyes still couldn't look away from the phone. Man, it looks like I need to get a hunter's license first. Scene change the next day in a forest. An instructor is lecturing some hunters. This is a safety training course, conducted entirely in theory inside the gate. We will distribute equipment shortly, so please wait a moment. Zirao stood there yawning, completely bored. In short, don't be reckless around the monsters, got it? Suddenly, the manager brought something out. I'm handing out the equipment now, please take one. Zirao received the device full of suspicion. What is this? Is it not a hunter's license? Everyone was shocked to hear him ask that. What, he doesn't know what this is? Seriously, a voice piped up. You're choosing that one. People started whispering. Where has this guy been living all this time under a rock? Is he from another planet or something? When they mentioned that, Zirao flinched. Did I blow my cover as an outsider? The instructor calmly explained, this is a basic analyzer. It uses magic lens technology, and I'll explain how to use it right now. He intently stared at the device. Magic lens. A moment later, the instructor shouted, All right, everyone has received their analyzers right. Then please scan this monster through the lens. He watched a creature fly over his head and wondered, you want me to scan that thing? Immediately, the screen displayed info on the creature, F-rank poison butterfly. He looked at the device thinking, Earthlings use tools to identify their enemies. The instructor suddenly appeared beside him and said cheerfully, The analyzer doesn't just help verify monsters, it also has an item searching function. He asked in curiosity, Items? He explained, It will help you find useful resources. So try looking around. Zirao raised the device and scanned the instructor. The screen displayed Not Found. Not able to find data. He quickly realized, it's not effective on humans, huh? Zirao continued scanning everything. Hot fruit, a plant characterized by its red veins composed of various fibers. Finally, he understood. Oh, so this is how the item identification function works. Then will it recognize this? He thought that, then scanned the ground. The screen displayed Not Found. Not able to find data. He was surprised. What? It can distinguish useful things, so why can't it recognize this? Suddenly, he realized something. Wait, could it be that it only detects things with mana, distinguishing between valuable items and those without mana? Although convenient, it's not a very accurate method. There are still things that are useful, even if they don't contain mana. This patch of dirt is a prime example. He gripped a handful of soil. It just looks like normal dirt. Magical absorption, a rare spell that can absorb mana. But this is strange. If this world, with such advanced research into the arts, how on earth could they not notice the art of absorption? Zero narrowed his eyes, wondering how it was possible that no one knew about this. Suddenly, as if remembering something, he snapped back to reality. Wait a second, he thought, then walked up to the instructor and asked, Excuse me, I have a question. The instructor smiled and replied, Sure, go ahead. Zero looked thoughtful. Tell me, he said, do you know, since when did awakened beings start appearing in Korea? The instructor answered, Oh, of course, it was 7 years ago. He explained that at that time, the shock of the dungeon gates appearing caused awakened individuals to emerge all over the world simultaneously. Hearing this, Zero was stunned. What, 7 years ago? Only 7 years ago. He mused, Looking back at the history of magic in Anfari, it spans over 60,000 years. Ah, I see. So I have to live among these primitives. Zero looked around. All the tools here were powered by electricity, yet they looked so strange to him. There was no way electrical engineering could have developed this fast. Primitive magical knowledge contrasted with this level of modern technology. Evolution has happened in such an abnormal way. It really is fascinating. Zero plopped down under a tree and scooped up a handful of dirt. Still with this passion, I can use this art of absorption, and no one even knows about it. People say being a hunter is a path to making millions if you have the resolve, but compared to the flowery words spun by the media, the life of a low-ranked hunter is nothing short of hell, especially with his leg injury. He remembered the first day he arrived on Earth and was hunted by that giant bird. And I couldn't even use magic. So before I run out of money and starve to death, I need to find another way to make a living. Inside his black bag was the pile of dirt. He had managed to collect a lot of mana using the absorption technique. Based on his research, it seemed like this mana could potentially kill certain monsters on Earth. The problem was, those monsters only appeared in C-rank gates, but he was only F-rank, so regulations forbade him from entering. Plus absorbing mana with the absorption technique. Without knowing much about Earth, it felt a bit strange, and the body he had possessed was only F-rank, which was another issue. While he was lost in thought, a very loud notification sound went off, making him curse, "Damn, that scared the hell out of me." He picked up his phone and read the emergency disaster alert. July 13th, 12:30 p.m. A red-grade gate has appeared near Mapo District, Seoul. Warning, B-rank monsters detected. Evacuate immediately. After confirming the path of the monsters, he wondered, what is this evacuation? He didn't think much of it and decided to follow the evacuation instructions. After getting cleaned up and dressed sharply, Zero stepped out of his house. He seemed quite interested in this situation. Let's see. Out on the street, people were panicking, rushing away in the opposite direction from Zero. Monsters escaped the dungeon, but there were still people staying behind just to watch the monsters and take pictures. Is that a B-rank monster? It's huge. Zero pushed through the crowd breathless. He couldn't believe this was the first time he was seeing a monster in person. Just then, a person with a camera pushed to the front and bumped into Zero. "Excuse me, let me through." The shove was painful enough to make him groan. The guy sneered. "What kind of weakling are you? I barely pushed you and you already collapsed. These people, standing in the way and causing a racket," it annoyed Zero. What's with that attitude, looking for a fight? But in reality, Zero just looked confused. "What are you talking about, man? I'm just watching." Suddenly the guy started bragging. "You've got guts, kid. Do you know I'm a hunter? Let's be clear, we're not in the same league. I'm not stupid enough to risk my life getting close to a monster just for a lucky shot like you. I'm here to gather data for my work." Zero replied, "Well, I'm the same. I'm a hunter too, and I'm here for the same reason." The guy let out a mocking laugh. "Oh really? What rank is a hunter like you?" Zero replied calmly, "F rank." Hearing this, the guy couldn't hold back his laughter, making Zero grimace. "Hey you! You're laughing, aren't you?" The guy didn't even bother looking at him, focusing entirely on his camera. Unbelievable. Suddenly roars echoed through the air, and screams drew Zero's attention back to the monster. At that moment, soldiers armed with guns were trying to fire at the beast. It got annoyed and used its tail to swat away a military helicopter in a split second. The helicopter was severely damaged and crashed, causing a massive explosion. Another helicopter arrived, and the pilot reported, "Support hunters have arrived at the scene." At the same time, the monster began to attack. It smashed through the building's windows, grabbed a few humans inside, and prepared to stuff them into its mouth, but suddenly its eyes darted elsewhere because it didn't expect a player to jump in, grab its tongue, and slice it in half. The monster screamed in agony and went berserk, running along the Yunsun Tower. Seeing this, someone shouted, "That monster is heading towards the civilians." Immediately, another person fired a flaming arrow at the monster. The arrow struck its tail, severing it. "Shoot now!" they cried out, as the monster realized what was happening. The helicopter was severely damaged and crashed, causing a massive explosion. Just then, another helicopter arrived, and the pilot reported in. Support hunters had arrived at the scene, but at that same moment, the monster started attacking. It smashed through the building's glass and grabbed a few people, intending to pop them into its mouth for a snack. But suddenly, its eyes darted elsewhere. It didn't expect a player to catch its tongue mid-air and slice it in two. The monster shrieked in pain and went berserk, running along the side of the great tower. Seeing this, Yoon Seo yelled out, "The monster is heading toward the civilians." Instantly, someone else fired a fire arrow at the beast. It struck the creature's tail, slicing it right off. Once the monster realized what happened, the air was no longer a safe place to be. He scrambled down in a desperate rush, but there was no way An Yoon Seong would let his prey escape. He leaped off the helicopter and slammed directly into its back. Putting every ounce of strength from his lunch into the blow, he gripped the tower for leverage the moment the monster hit the ground, then launched himself downward to deliver a perfectly executed powerful finishing strike. Once he realized his opponent was no longer twitching, An Yoon Seong finally breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing this, the others cheered joyfully, shouting that they had really caught it. "What a skilled hunter!" The people above shouted in excitement. "Look, they're heading this way. Do you think we could ask for a photo?" As they wondered, Jiwoo was silently deep in thought, realizing he had learned one thing through his recent research. In this world, Rank A hunters are elite members of the top 3% of awakened individuals. They are a powerful force that contributes significantly to urban safety and are idols to many. This must be why everyone is fighting just to get a glimpse of a Rank A hunter. The crowd surged and shoved, crying out, "It's Hunter, An Yoon-jong! Hunter, An Yoon-jong! I've only ever seen you on TV." Suddenly, An Yoon Seong approached him, greeting him. "Hello, Ji-woo," looking at him as if he were his life's light and his savior. "I never expected to run into you here. Back then, if it weren't for you, I would have been a goner. You might not remember me, but I'm the one you helped at that gate. You single-handedly stopped that golem, I swear." He was so incredibly cool that Jiwoo started to piece it together. "Ah, I remember now. No wonder he looked familiar." And Yoon Seong turned to look at the people pushing and asked, "But are you here with this person?" Suddenly he made a sour face. He had noticed the way Jiwoo glared at the guy earlier, and Yoon Seong figured that if it were him, he would have glared too. The man stammered, "Oh well." Suddenly, the hunter did a 180-degree turn toward Jiwoo. "By the way, since we've met, let me introduce myself. I'm An Yoon Seong. If you don't mind, could you tell me your name?" He handed his business card over. Jiwoo replied, "Kim Jiwoo." The hunter beamed like a happy child. "Ah, so your name is Kim Jiwoo." He hesitated, then asked, "Are you free right now? I have something I want to talk to you about." Jiwoo was silent for a moment before asking, "Do you really want to pay me back?" And Yoon Seong scratched his head shyly and replied, "Jiwoo, you might not like it, but truly, there's no other way. I've felt so uneasy ever since you vanished. After all, you saved my life." And Yoon Seong looked at him thinking, "Back then, I only knew how to run away. There's nothing wrong with a Rank A hunter wanting to repay his savior." Jiwoo pulled out his phone and said, "Actually, there is a way." And Yoon Seong's eyes lit up as he asked, "Really, just leave it to me." Jiwoo held up his phone to show a location marked in red on the map. "Can you follow me into a gate for a bit?" The sky was a hazy gray, and the bare leafless trees all around gave off a gloomy vibe. Jiwoo glanced at An Yoon Seong's complexion and asked, "What's wrong? You haven't looked good since a while ago." The hunter hesitated and replied, "It's nothing really." Jiwoo quickly headed out saying, "Is that so? Then let's pick up the pace." "Yes, sir," he replied hurriedly. And Yoon Seong thought to himself, "No matter how I think about it, I can't believe it." A few minutes ago, An Yoon Seong had been overjoyed. "It's a true honor to raid a gate with you. Are you planning to collect materials?" He replied, "No, I'm planning to hunt monsters." And Yoon-seong clenched his fists and exclaimed, "Oh, is that so? Then I'll be able to learn from you." Ji-woo sighed and said, "I need to clarify a few things because it seems like you're misunderstanding something." And Yoon-seong wondered, "Yes." He held up his certificate and said, "I'm a rank F hunter." Seeing that the hunter was shocked, Ji-woo added, "So you can just treat me like a porter." And Yoon-seong stood frozen, staring at the certificate in his hand. Back in the present, he thought to himself, "Are you really rank F? Is the measuring device broken?" Right. I've heard that mid to high level awakened individuals are often forced to handle dungeon breaks, so there are rumors that some people manipulate their awakened rank to avoid being controlled by the association. So is Ji-woo actually hiding his true rank? Ji-woo looked down and said, "Found them." Just like on the internet, one-eyed monsters were roaring, baring teeth-filled mouths. Their entire bodies were covered in flames like something out of hell. And Eun-seong followed his gaze and asked, "Huh, are those flame speeders?" Ji-woo wondered, "Flame speeder? What kind of name is that?" And Eun-seong explained, "There was a translation error with the analysis software in Korea back then. That monster was first discovered in Ohio. Because that bat was covered in fire, it was named Fire Bat in the PC version, but due to a mistranslation, it became Flame Spider." Ji-woo said, "Is that so? You really know a lot." The monster twitched its ears upon hearing the sound, and both of them looked down simultaneously. A loud explosion echoed as the monsters surged out, moving fast. They rushed over their heads, and Yoon-seong noticed his hand in his pocket and asked, "Ji-woo, I've always been curious what's in that bag." Ji-woo didn't look at him and replied, "Oh, that the monsters are rushing angrily toward us." He waved his hand once, and something set a monster's wings on fire. They screamed in pain, and the surrounding flames flared violently. Ji-woo watched the charred bats falling. He said, "Something to use in a situation like this. It's very effective." And Yoon-seong suddenly spoke up, "I'm sorry for asking you this while we're hunting, but..." He did his work while replying, "It's fine. I'm listening, so go ahead." The hunter continued, "Why do you keep using items you could easily catch a rank C monster with your bare hands?" Ji-woo thought helplessly, "Did this guy read my hunter license with his butt? Is he really that stupid? Or does he just not know how low-rank awakened individuals have to fight? I'm listening, so go ahead and speak. Why do you keep using items like that? You could easily take down a rank C monster with your bare hands." Jiraiya thought helplessly, "Did he read my hunter license with his backside? Is he really that dense, or does he just have no idea how low-rank awakened hunters actually have to fight? Since he's a hunter standing at the top of the tower, there's no need to reveal his weaknesses." Zirao said, "And Yoon-seong, have you ever thought about awakening? Like this?" He held up his hand, signaling, then continued, "Lifting a 1-ton truck creating water to flood an entire land. They're certainly convenient abilities, but we didn't gain them through effort. They came by chance, and they'll just as easily fade away. I find this ability to be quite inconvenient, so I don't rely on my awakening powers." Zirao thought, feeling restless. "That sounds like nonsense, but he'll probably believe it, right?" Yoon-seong exclaimed. "Oh," he was so moved he teared up, choking out, "You're right. You're so right. Why didn't I think of that? Things we obtain so easily will just as easily vanish. Why, did I think these powers would last forever?" Zirao inwardly complimented. "Oh, that sounds plausible." Yoon-seong added happily, "Moreover, considering the current trend of gates, mutations are increasing. Perhaps it's preparing us for a future where we can't use skills in dungeons anymore." With sparkling eyes, he grabbed Zirao's hand and continued, "While I was just choosing the easy path without training, you Zirao have such foresight." "Oh, really?" Zirao felt a pang of guilt, turned his face away, and replied, Yeah." Yoon-seong seemed to realize something. He covered his mouth and cried out, "Wait, could it be?" High-level awakened individuals can roughly sense things through intuition. Standing next to an S-rank hunter gives you goosebumps. But with you, Zirao, I don't feel anything at all, as if you're just a common fly. Zirao was stunned and thought, "He's calling the greatest mage Alfred what a fly." Yunxiang was still rambling. "If you're training to control your powers, can you control your mana too? I've never seen anyone with such top-tier control like you." Zirao closed his eyes and told himself, "Hold it together. He's just a primitive person, so awakening levels are similar to mana density. Sure, let's go with that." He patted his chest and replied, "Yeah, basically." A while later, the two were sitting in a diner. Yunxiang asked, "Sir, if you're going into a dungeon again, can you call me?" Zirao wondered why. "You've already paid off your debt, haven't you?" Yunxiang scratched his head and said, "Honestly, I learn so much whenever I'm with you. Because of that incident, my team disbanded, and I only awakened less than 6 months ago. It's dangerous to operate alone because I lack experience. But if I join a team, well, you know." Zirao thought, "It seems he's still traumatized by his teammates stabbing him in the back. If I were him, I'd be the same." He put his hands in his pockets and replied, "Well, if you want help, I have no reason to refuse. But if things get dangerous, I'm not sure I can save you. You have to protect yourself. I don't have enough power to protect you. If we fight, I'll definitely lose because I'm very weak. As for the golem, your answer was a bit problematic. You're just too impulsive." Yunxiang looked at him with admiration. He thought Jirahyo is so humble. Yunxiang asked, "Do you think I'll get hurt if I let my guard down?" As the two continued talking, Yunxiang suddenly asked, "By the way, how old are you?" Zirao asked back, "You want to know my age?" He replied, "Yes." Yunxiang said happily, "I'm 22. But I had a second chance, so my graduation class is..." Zirao thought, "Wait, how old is Kim Zirao again?" Yunxiang continued, "Right, I almost forgot. Let's exchange phone numbers." He took out his wallet and held it out to him. Yunxiang looked and said, 24. We're only 2 years apart," Zirao thought, "so I'm 24. Yunxiang, thinking he was annoyed, hurriedly explained, I didn't mean it like that. It's just that you look so calm and mature." He watched the young students passing by. He thought, "I don't have any memories of college. My contacts are empty." What kind of life did he lead? The lonely figure of Zirao appeared in his subconscious. The TV was playing the next news bulletin. The phenomenon of mutant gates is increasing across all nations. The Hunter Association has yet to find the cause behind it. A man was lying on the couch while the news continued to play. Even high-level investigators have yet to determine the cause of this phenomenon. Public anxiety is growing. The man suddenly moved. He opened his eyes, his green pupils glowing in the night. Late at night, Yunxiang asked Zirao over the phone, "Sir, do you want to see something cool tomorrow? I have priority access to a new gate." Outwardly, he replied coldly, "Sure." But inwardly, he thought happily, "How can I resist an offer to see something cool? I'm so excited." In Korea, when a new gate appears, access is prohibited. An investigation team is sent in. Once the association's investigation is complete, the gate will be closed, and today is the opening day. Rumor has it, there is a strange plant inside this new gate. Perhaps that plant is the key to me restoring my magic. I just need to check that tree at the entrance and then leave. Zirao looked down and exclaimed, "There are so many people here. Are all these people going in?" Someone walked by and shouted, "Look, it's an Yunxiang." Yunxiang scratched his head and said, "Most of them are just spectators and reporters, but it seems more crowded than I expected." Suddenly, a sports car sped up. Zirao tilted his head to look. The car stopped in front of him. The door opened, and a blue-haired man in the sports gear stepped out. Yunxiang wondered, Kang Cheng-ho. "Why is Kang Cheng-ho here?" Zirao asked. Who's that?" Yunxiang replied in fear, "That's an S-rank hunter, Kang Cheng-ho." He asked again, "One of the 3 S-ranks in Korea." He looked at him. Steady mana flowed through his body. Zirao thought, "His mana is very stable. He's definitely a rare talent of this earth." Chang Ho seemed to sense something. His pupils suddenly constricted. He looked towards Zerao. He asked calmly, "Isn't that guy's eyes strange?" Yun Seong leaned in close and whispered, "I heard those are the dragon's eyes. It's clearly a very rare item." Suddenly, Chang Ho walked over. He was surprised and blurted out, "Wait, why is he coming?" Approaching him, the man coldly asked, "What's your name?" Zerao replied earnestly, "Kim Zerao." The man then asked, "What's your hunter rank?" Just then, Yun Seoan spoke up to clear the air. "Oh, hello, hunter, Kang Chang Ho. This guy is just a porter helping me out. If there's a problem..." Suddenly, Chang Ho's entire body seemed to radiate a killing intent. He gritted out, "I wasn't talking to you." Yun Seo-eun was deeply shaken. "Shut it and get behind Zerao." He replied, "F rank." The man crossed his arms and asked, leaning in, "Huh, really, is that for real? Do you think he can see the mana hidden inside Kim Zerao's body? Mana is just a basic energy-producing organ. Just because your respiratory system is refined, it means the total amount of mana in your body will decrease. A mage of Kang Chang Ho's caliber can gauge a person's potential even from the faintest signal." Zerao calmly said, "If you don't believe me, I can show you my hunter ID." Chang Ho spoke up, "Someone who can look an S-rank hunter straight in the eye and reply, 'Hunter Kim Zerao.' If that's the case, then, just then, Yun Seoan gathered all his courage, put an arm around Zerao and said, "Zerao Hyung, it's time. We were just here to take a quick look, right? Shouldn't we get going? If we don't leave, we'll be late for our appointment." He quickly pushed Zerao away. Zerao pointed and asked, "But the plan for today was to explore this place." Yun Seo-eun shouted, cutting him off, "Hey, let's go quickly." Zerao still looked back over his shoulder. Chang Ho watched his retreating back in silence. Yun Sung-hoon asked, "Hyung, do you really not know Hunter Kang Chang Ho? You've been abroad, right?" Zerao hesitated. "I've been away for a while." He added, "I don't like to gossip, but that hunter doesn't have the best reputation." Zerao asked, "Why is that?" He continued, "He has a criminal record for assault. Who would want to enter a gate with an S-rank criminal? Even putting aside his past, his recent behavior hasn't been any better." Zerao wondered, did something happen? Yun Seo-eun said, "I have a cousin named Choi Jin, a C-rank. She entered a gate with Kang Chang Ho and he attacked her. They say he only chooses to pick fights. With strong awakened individuals." Zerao touched his heart, thinking, "So that's why you dragged me away. Worried that the S-rank maniac would bother me. What a thoughtful little mammal." Zerao said, "All right, let's head back. We'll check on that mysterious plant instead." Silence. Zerao suddenly asked, "But, Yun Seo-eun back there, what did you say Kang Chang Ho's eyes were? That was a dragon's eye, right? So is that something that can be bought and sold like your shield?" Yun Seo-eun replied, "Yes. The first time he had that item, it was in the form of a small orb. It seems he swallowed it when he used it." Zerao asked, "Is there anything in a dragon's lungs?" He replied, "Let me check. It seems there are only transaction records, currently nothing available. But since lungs aren't very common, they might appear later." He crossed his arms. Looking at the screen, he continued asking, "Why aren't they common? How much do they cost?" Yun Seung-hoon said, "They don't enhance mana like eyes or hearts, and they can at least be processed into medicine. But lungs don't have any real use." "Oh, here it is. The price is also cheap, 2.6 billion won." He replied, "Wait, 2.6? He was startled and asked back. He said, "What did you say?" 2.6 billion. Yun Seo-eun innocently continued, "Cheap. For something else, you wouldn't be able to buy it no matter how much you paid." Zerao silently shed tears, thinking he really shouldn't have asked. The taxi sped down the road. He looked at the screen, searching for the name Kang Chang Ho. Zerao thought, Kang Chang Ho. The more I look into him, the more terrifying he seems. Letting someone like that roam free out there. It's just insane. Should I avoid his gaze from now on? What if he wants to fight me? my life would be over right here. Suddenly, a sports car came rushing from behind and slammed into the back of the taxi. Zareo fell forward due to the momentum. The driver quickly swerved, crashing into a lamppost. The driver was gasping for air while Zareo slumped over. He asked in fear, "Oh no, are you okay?" He replied, "Yes." The driver stepped out of the car shouting, "You jerk, are you crazy? Don't you know how to drive properly? Get out here now." The owner of the car stepped out and spoke, "I am truly deeply sorry." Chang Ho smiled and replied, "I haven't driven in a while, so I confused the gas pedal with the brake." Zareo stepped out of the car. He thought Kang Chang Ho. He held his phone and approached, saying, "Hello, Kim Zareo F. Rank Hunter. I'd like to ask a favor. Could I have your contact information?" He thought, is he insane? How bad of a driver do you have to be to hit someone on an empty road? The driver was trembling as he said, "Kang Chang Ho, Hunter Kang Chang Ho." Because he caused the accident, he had to pay for the repairs. He held out the money and said casually, "Here, take it." Zareo watched the driver bowing respectfully. He said sincerely, "Thank you." He secretly wondered, "How much is that?" He held out his phone and said, "By the way, save my contact info." He wondered. Chang Ho continued, "I just ran out of cash, so I'll have to pay for your medical expenses gradually." Zareo thought to himself, "I don't really understand what you mean. Is this how you resolve traffic accidents? It's just a phone number. What's the big deal? How could you just ram someone on a deserted road like that?" The driver was trembling. "Kang Chang Ho, you're a hunter. Because you caused this accident, you have to pay for the repairs." Chang Ho just handed over the money and said casually, "Here, take it." Zirao watched the driver bowing respectfully and sincerely said, "Thank you." He secretly wondered, how much was that anyway? He held out his phone and said, "Here, save my contact info." Zirao was confused. Chang Ho continued, "I just ran out of cash. So, I'll have to pay your medical bills little by little later." Zirao thought, "I don't really get what you mean. Is this how you settle traffic accidents? It's just a phone number. What's the big deal? I can't give it to you here. Take your phone back, it's yours." Jinrei-ho looked at the man in front of him thinking, Kang Chang Ho, the only son of a famous company owner, born with a silver spoon in his mouth and became a hunter. But he has a criminal record for severe assault. With all that money, he could hire the best lawyers to defend him, yet he still ended up in prison. There are countless testimonies online, clearly stating that Kang Chang Ho abused others. However, there's a bigger problem at hand. His parents passed away a few years ago, right when monsters escaped from a dungeon. Just after that incident, Kang Chang Ho sold all the shares inherited from the company, effectively liquidating his family's business. Everyone uses his unclear awakening time as an excuse. Rumors started circulating that Kang Chang Ho committed assault for money, but nothing has been proven yet. He tilted his head to start a conversation. "Are you going to take care of that chicken today too? I'm a bit surprised that someone like you would be doing manual labor." Chang Ho sat in his sports car and suggested, "I know of some jobs that pay better. Are you interested in hearing about them?" Ji-Rei-ho looked at Chang Ho, his eyes momentarily thoughtful. "A high-paying job, huh?" Then he spoke, "That doesn't sound like a problem." Chang Ho smirked, his tone carrying a hint of a challenge. "Don't work for an Yunseong anymore. Work for me instead. I'll give you 80% of the items and profits you earn from the gate." He froze upon hearing those words. Is he trying to test me with such ridiculous terms? Ji-Rei-ho silently deduced, this S-rank hunter must have realized the potential in Kim Kiryo's body. Could it be that Kim Kiryo's magic is equal to, or even higher than an S-rank? He raised both hands, glancing over them, lost in thought. If I can harness my magic properly, I'll be able to control this entire planet. A few seconds later, Ji-Rei-ho crossed his arms looking contemplative. Geez, I'm in a position where it's hard to even enter an S-rank gate. I'm not sure if I can work with you. Hearing this, Chang-ho immediately scoffed. What was that S-rank? He leaned back against his expensive red car, his voice tinged with arrogance. There's no way they'd push a hunter with your rank into a high-level gate like that. Ji-Reho was slightly startled and blurted out, You approached me after checking my awakening potential. Then Chang-ho frowned and asked, Awakening potential? What, you're an F rank, right? My proposal is to train you directly. In other words, I'm offering to be your sponsor. Then Ji-Reho raised his hand and scratched the back of his neck. I see. I misunderstood, so I said something a bit strange, but inside he felt like he'd been doused with a bucket of cold water. So embarrassing. He smirked. Can I take that? As an acceptance, Ji-Reho raised his hand, confusion clearly visible in his eyes. Wait a minute. Exactly what did you see in me to offer something like that? Hearing that, Chang-ho became even more thrilled. His expression turned sinister and his smile curved in a truly terrifying way. Seeing that look, Ji-Reho froze his face, turning pale. In his heart, only one thought remained. Damn it, Yoon-seong, I really miss you right now. Elsewhere, a loud sound erupted. A car accident with Chang-ho. Ji-Reho calmly tore open a bag of candy. I said I had an appointment with him, so I left, but thinking back, it feels like that bastard did it on purpose. You listened and then spoke. It's true. He only targets powerful hunters. I guess I avoided trouble thanks to you, Kiryo-hyung. He only replied with a short, Is that so? Yoon-seong continued. Even an A rank like me could become a target. You chuckled softly, eyes reflecting gratitude. Having a hunter like you by my side, I won't stand out anymore. If Kang Chang-ho did that, you must have seen Yoon-seong getting too excited. Ji-Reho just sighed, thinking to himself, What should I do? Call the police? But what would I even say? Ji-Reho briefly imagined himself having to risk his life to explain to the police, An S-rank hunter said he would protect me and give me items. That thought ended immediately. Just forget it. Right, they wouldn't care about this anyway. Behind him, Yoon-seong's voice rang out, Ah, right, Kiryo-hyung, did you watch the news this morning? You repeated what you knew, making him subconsciously pay attention. Last year, South Korea ranked second in the assessment of gate management excellence. Ji-Reho glanced over, seeing Yoon-seong still cheerfully talking non-stop, even though abnormal mutations still persisted severely, but civilian casualties had clearly decreased. The news said that humans would soon overcome the disaster called gates. He thought to himself, This guy is quite talented at choosing topics, isn't he? He drifted back into his own thoughts. The concept of the gate also made him curious. It was like a miniature model of his own experiences. And one day, in the year 2017, a mysterious phenomenon appeared simultaneously across the entire world. In Ji-Reho's mind, images emerged of deformed creatures, stepping out from a stream of light. Gates monsters and awakened ones. He thought while analyzing how they used magical energy. The principle of magic is using mana taken from the planet's core. However, unlike Anfori, Earth has terrain filled with rock, making it hard to increase mana levels. But the gate phenomenon that appeared 7 years ago acts like a mana-draining well. Thanks to that, some people who came into contact with mana became awakened ones. Ji-Reho's gaze darkened. However, knowledge about gates is still very scarce. Just remembering those monsters made his heart feel heavy. Earthlings don't dig deep to extract mana, and inside are terrifying creatures surrounding everything. Those creatures are extremely hostile to humanity. It's not the technology of Anfori, nor is it Earth's. So what exactly is it? He closed his eyes slightly to ponder. Yoon-seong's urgent call pulled him back to reality. Hyung. His face was full of worry, asking insistently, Hyung, are you not feeling well? Ji-Reho was startled and turned to look. Sorry, I was a bit distracted. Yoon-seong looked puzzled. What are you thinking about? Jireho turned to him and slowly began to tell him what he was worried about. I'm imagining what it would be like if I were the one who created the gates. I think the current situation in Korea has something that doesn't add up. Yoonseong listened, then curiously asked, why is that? You started to analyze using the image of 2 mice as an example. No matter the purpose, the monsters inside the gate want to kill us. The items inside are like cheese on a mousetrap. You continued to explain, but if, whatever their goal is, the monsters inside the gate want us dead, the items inside are just like cheese on a mousepiece. He continued to explain, but if the little mouse figured out how to eat only the cheese, when those 2 mice grabbed the piece of cheese and prepared to leave with their prize, wouldn't they be furious? You are lost in thoughts about what ZZ Leap just said. You tell him that, and you realize it's true. Suddenly a blue light envelops you. The ground starts to grow heavy and shake violently. What's going on? Energy bubbles up like lava beneath your feet. The light flares up so intensely, it almost swallows everything around. Yoon Se-young turns back bewildered. Is there a problem? Is there a problem? You are inside that energy thinking to yourself, damn it, it's mana. The light becomes increasingly violent, as if trying to drag Zarao to another world. You scream, An Eun Seung. Only then does he realize the terrible thing happening. What is this? A giant pillar of light rises like a tornado, sweeping Zarao into the center. Yoon Seung screams, hey, inside, Zero is completely engulfed. You can't move. You grit your teeth. Damn it, I'm getting pulled in. Everything suddenly stops. You slowly open your eyes. The light fades, revealing a strange scene. Zero's eyes widen in surprise. He is standing in the middle of a narrow, all-white corridor. Zero looks around. A series of questions race through his mind. Where is this inside a gate? You walk while thinking, there is nothing worse than running into a monster in a dead end like this. I have to move. Each step echoes in the silent space. With a body that cannot cast magic, a simple question is, how on earth am I going to get through this? As he moves deeper, Zero instinctively stops. Before him is a stone tablet. Behind it is a strange gate. Where is this? You step closer, your gaze fixing on the freezing surface of the tablet. A stone tablet with something written on it. Suddenly, a sound echoes beside Zarao. He leaps back as a figure approaches from that direction, and from the opposite direction, someone else is approaching. Over there, Chang-ho appears. He asks, Kim Kiryo. You think to yourself, Kang Chang-ho. And on this side, Haseong is already close by. You wonder, who is this guy? Zero stands between the two, thinking, what kind of situation is this? Chang-ho arrives and greets Haseong. Haseong, I heard you were in Singapore. He nods in response. I just got back today. Between the two of them, Zarao just stands silently wondering. They aren't usually this friendly. Sensing the strange atmosphere, Zarao asks softly, do you guys know each other? Both turn to look at him with confused expressions. He glances at you and retorts, Kim Kiryo, I should be asking you that. Do you not know who Haseong is? Zarao remains silent. I've only been on Earth for 2 weeks. How would I know? Seeing him go quiet like that, Chang-ho laughs teasingly. Haseong, see that? He really doesn't recognize you. You should work even harder then. The two exchange words, making Zero even more curious. At first I didn't know you either, you idiot. Exactly who is he? A moment later, Chang-ho smiles and turns to introduce, this is Yong Haseong, South Korea's #1 hunter. Zero listens slightly surprised. Damn, he's even more formidable than I thought. Chang-ho continues, people know him as a national hero, but since you don't know, never mind. Jong Haseong, this is Kim Kiryo, an F-rank hunter. While Zarao only responds with a polite greeting, Haseong glances coldly and replies, yes, very nice to meet you, Kim Kiryo. Zarao keeps a calm expression, but inside he is churning with thoughts. Why do you keep staring at me? Haseong raises his hand and presses a blue button on his wrist. Let's save the formalities for later. Did both of them get dragged to this place? A virtual system board appears glowing with blue light. Zirao glances over it. In his head, he immediately guesses, is that an analyzer? No. I never imagined such a beautifully designed thing existed. Haseong looks at the analysis interface and says softly, now I'm sure this is inside a gate. Unknown gate. No information. Gate number 52. X rank. The rank is X. We're in trouble now. Rao looks down at his phone. X rank. What is that supposed to mean? The screen is blank, displaying nothing. What is this? Chang Ho also raises his phone, squinting, then speaks up. I came in without any preparation. If I don't, get out of here quickly. This is going to be a real headache. Right after that, Haseong adds, there is something written on that stone slab. All three turn their gaze toward the stone tablet in front. The symbol of true faith shall become the key. A necessary clue for the gate, perhaps. It seems the only direction we can go is through that gate. Haseong steps forward and places his hand on the gate. He uses his strength to try and push it open. Chang Ho stands behind, arms crossed, saying, it won't budge. Haseong says, Hunter Kang Chang Ho, can you help me a bit? This surprises him. Me, you turn your face, I can't open it with my strength alone. That makes Chang Ho sigh. Left with no choice, he steps closer to Haseong. You look at Chang Ho and nod. He looks toward Haseong with trust. And then, you touch the gate once more. Suddenly, an intense light engulfs everything. Chang Ho steps forward, adding his strength to Haseong's. He exerts his power toward the gate. Zirao stands behind, watching them in awe. Among those who interact with Mana S-rank hunters are the most special. The gate, under the heavy influence of both, distorts slightly. They are an extremely small number of people who receive extraordinary talent, those who possess bizarre abilities, yet there is still no progress. But these two truly cannot open a single door, Chang Ho says, frustrated. Looks like that's the case. It can't be opened by brute force. He turns back and says, then it seems that's how it is. Zirao looks at the stone tablet. There's nothing left to try except for this. Chang Ho fell into a deep silence, staring at that stone carving, but hey, doesn't. Its mouth looked just like a hole big enough to shove a whole arm into. Haseong stood silently, Zirao furrowing his brow slightly as a bad feeling welled up inside him. No way. He was uneasy, but if they didn't open the door, they'd be trapped here forever, and without any supplies, they'd run out of food soon. Suddenly, Haseong stepped forward. Without a second of hesitation, he shoved his hand into the lion statue's mouth. Both of them jumped, staring at each other in shock, as the door behind them slowly started to creak open. Zirao blinked and asked softly, Haseong, are you okay? On his arm, 2 deep bite marks were oozing blood. Haseong's face turned pale. I'm drained. The guy froze. What did you just say? His voice trembled slightly. I was in such shock. I tried to pull my arm out, but no matter how hard I tried, it wouldn't budge. At that moment, I actually thought about severing my own shoulder. Chang Ho glanced over and snapped back in a rough voice. For real. Well, the door's open now, so let's get moving. Zirao muttered to himself, I've got a really bad feeling about this. Is this even safe? The three continued deep into the dark hallway, when suddenly he jumped. Damn it, not another one, Chang Ho blurted out. Another lion statue. Haseong gritted his teeth. No! There's no time to just stand here and stare. He walked up, shoved his hand into the lion's mouth. They had to get out of here fast. Then he lowered his voice. Let's go. Chang Ho took a deep breath and stepped forward. He saw another lion statue. Zirao thought to himself. Put your hand in the lion's mouth and the door opens. Is that all it really takes? Just do it. Haseong looked at the hunter Kang Chang Ho. You open the next door. He frowned. What? Why me? He replied, the blood drain rate has changed. Hashong broke into a cold sweat. The first one was no problem, but the second one made me a bit dizzy. He suggested, in these types of dungeons, the requirements will keep increasing. We should take turns. He nodded slightly. Yeah, you've done a great job so far, Trang Ho retorted bluntly. Why don't you just finish it off? Hashong glared at him, annoyed. Are you refusing to cooperate? He shrugged. You don't know my hunter rank, do you? He pressed on. I don't care. I'll say it again. Hunter Kang Trang Ho, let's cooperate, he replied coldly. And if I refuse? Zirao watched the scene feeling restless. Are these guys about to fight? Hey, the air between the two became as tight as a bowstring. Trang Ho pressed. If we keep opening these gates and it eventually becomes my turn, I'll be drained dry, right? He laughed dryly. At least I have the right to choose when my turn comes, so no one feels cheated. Don't you think so? Besides, he glanced over at Zirao. Isn't there another hunter over there? Why don't you ask him? Zirao sighed, feeling defeated. Damn it, now he's dragging me into this. He thought to himself, the survival rate for side paths is about 60%. This place might not have monsters, but that doesn't mean it's safe. He looked around. A labyrinth that lets you advance by offering blood, the hole is just big enough for a human arm. In other words, the solution to this dungeon is sacrifice. Someone. Zirao lowered his head. Are we doomed? Hasiang was furious. Are you serious? Proposing an F-rank handle, this while there are 2 S-rank hunters here. Seriously? Before he could finish, the space suddenly shook. All 3 turned by reflex. In front of them, a giant foot stepped out from the darkness, followed by glaring blood-red eyes that narrowed viciously. It radiated terrifying killing intent. Zirao stepped back, crying out in panic. What the hell is that? Wasn't there supposed to be nothing weird here? The beast growled, black energy pouring out into the hallway. A second later, it went berserk and charged. The immense pressure almost pushed Zirao back. At the same time, Hasiang, his whole body ablaze with fire, charged straight at it. A powerful sword swing sent flames erupting. In an instant, the monster was cut down. Zirao was stunned. No way! Is the fire in the air some kind of ancient mage magic? He turned to look at Trang Ho. If so, then his ability must be... He huffed, still capable of throwing punches after being drained of blood. Zirao was startled. Before the words even left his lips, another monster went berserk and charged. Its massive frame lunged toward the 2. Hasiang shouted, Kang Trang Ho, behind you! He reacted extremely fast, darted, his eyes turned, and threw a devastating punch. In a flash, the beast went down, blood splattering on the stone floor. Zirao was shocked. That's insane! Is Kang Trang Ho's awakening skill physical enhancement? Trang Ho brushed off his hand. Its body is weaker than I thought. Maybe a C-rank monster. Hashong snapped. Too early to relax. Look over there. From the dark walls, a series of monster carvings suddenly glowed. A second later, each one stepped out of the stone. Soon, the whole pack rushed out like a swarm of bees. Roars echoed, shaking the whole space. Claws flashed in the air as they surrounded the 3, moving in closer. Hasiang backed up a few steps, his voice low. They aren't high-rank monsters, but there are so many of them. This is getting really annoying. Watch my back, Hunter Kang Trang Ho. He clenched his fist. Just focus on your own business. Both coordinated instantly. Hasiang slid across the ground, holding his flaming sword, cutting through the air. Trang Ho lunged a punch as heavy as a sledgehammer, crushing a monster's head. Hasiang pivoted, fire reflecting in his red eyes. Each cut was as sharp as a storm unleashed alongside Trang Ho. His gaze was cold. He clenched his fist and delivered a powerful blow. The others kept charging in, roaring endlessly. Amid the chaos, Hasiang's gaze was murderous. In just a few moments, he'd cut down dozens. Zirao exhaled. This is crazy. Are 2 S-ranks really this strong? Intense clashing sounds echoed with a roar. Hasiang sighed. There are more of them than I thought. Thanks to the blood loss, his stamina was hitting a warning level. He snapped his head toward the lion statue. A strange premonition flared in his heart. It had reached this point. Watching the stone lion's eyes glow bright red, its mouth gaping wider as if inviting him in, he suddenly froze. Ha-seong tightened his grip on the sword hilt, a soft whisper escaping his lips. "Found you." Immediately after, Ha-seong spun around, swinging his sword with a powerful slash. Flames erupted violently, sweeping across the swarm of beasts. "Is this how it is?" Jiryo thought to himself. "It's terrifying. So this is what an S-rank hunter is capable of." His eyes trembled slightly in disbelief. They had wiped out the monsters in the blink of an eye. A sense of helplessness welled up inside him. Even if he regained his magic, conquering the entire world would be difficult. Suddenly, Ha-seong raised his voice. "Kang Chang-ho Jiryo, look!" He pointed ahead. His eyes widened. The eyes of the lion statue were glowing. Ha-seong said urgently, "It seems like if we feed this portal blood within a certain time frame, it triggers a wave of monsters." Just then, the sound of breaking stone echoed from the walls. A new monster poked its head out. Jiryo's eyes rounded in panic. "Does that mean—" Before he could finish, he saw a black shadow lunging toward him from behind and shouted loudly, "Ha-seong!" Suddenly, Ha-seong spun around, reacting with lightning speed, drawing his steel-bladed sword that flashed in the air. One strike pierced straight into the beast's throat. Black blood splattered everywhere. "Chang-ho, is there a time limit?" The moment he finished speaking, the monsters appeared frantically from everywhere. Their roars thundered like a storm. Jiryo watched the front tense, his heart pounding erratically. Ha-seong shouted loudly, "Kim Jiryo!" With a quick glance, Chang-ho lunged forward like a gust of wind cutting through the fray. Without hesitation, Chang-ho dove straight toward the lion statue, his arm thrusting deep into its mouth. The two of them looked up as the monsters in the air suddenly disintegrated into ashes. Jiryo was secretly astonished. What was that? I didn't expect him to cooperate so quickly. Chang-ho tilted his head. "Who's next?" Ha-seong replied calmly. "Let's take turns." He warned, "We can't be sure whether one person can handle it or not." His composure left Jiryo stunned. "Ah, this is why he's called a national hero," he mused inwardly. The moment he realized he was an F-rank, he immediately crossed himself off the list of people expected to sacrifice themselves. And he protects everyone when a monster appears. Thanks to him, the others can move forward without me having to shed a drop of blood. But I still feel a bit guilty. After clearing all the beasts, the three of them continued moving forward. By then, Ha-seong's breathing was heavy, his eyes unfocused, and sweat was dripping down his face. Jiryo immediately caught him. "Ha-seong, are you okay?" He forced a smile. "I'm fine. These portals are usually small. They shouldn't be far from the exit." He worriedly noticed the other man's face turning paler by the second. Jiryo breathed a sigh of relief. It was finally Kang Chang-ho's turn to open the gate. He stood in front and called out, "Ha-seong." Then he turned his head to warn, "Wait a second. What's wrong? I just realized there's no and guarantee that the exit is behind this gate. Furthermore, everyone is starting to feel the tension." He pondered, "Maybe we missed a clue somewhere. Let's go back and check the previous rooms." Ha-seong replied irritably, "You're just trying to stall for time, right?" He clenched his fists. "Earlier when you attacked an X-rank gate, the standard procedure was to follow the conditions. You know that very well." He lost his cool. "Or are you planning to attack Tanso, me, while things are chaotic, like the monsters are attacking just like that incident?" His voice was full of pressure. "I won't let this drag on. Open the door." Chang-ho laughed. All right, I'll open it. Don't be so tense. Have I ever said I wouldn't help with the strategy?" He tilted his head. "Besides, you've misunderstood. The thing that happened with Choi-jin was just an accident." As he touched the lion statue, he whispered, "I am not some madman who attacks his colleagues without a reason." His eyes flashed coldly. "Because I have a criminal record, I understand why you don't trust me." Chang Ho said in a calm tone. But Ha-seong, right now you're being way too suspicious of me. Is that why you keep making such quick decisions, because you want to get out of here as fast as possible, right? His hand rested in the lion statue's mouth. I'll open the gate, but please think seriously about what I said. Even if it's your turn, I still suggest we go back and check the previous rooms. Ji-ryo watched the two, thinking, he makes more sense than I thought. In that moment, looking at Chang Ho, he realized, so the rumors were just rumors after all. Ha-seong stepped forward and asked, "Are you okay, Kang Chang Ho?" He replied softly, "Don't worry about me. I brought a recovery potion. Maybe I can open the gate a few more times after I drink it." He suggested softly, "Let's push a little further. If we don't find the exit in the next room, we'll find another way." Ji-ryo watched him slowly pull out a potion bottle, thinking to himself, if it goes on like this, I'll need Kang Chang Ho's support. But the very next second his eyes widened in horror behind him. Chang Ho was already holding a potion bottle. Without hesitation, he smashed it hard against Ha-seong. Ha-seong couldn't react in time. He staggered and collapsed instantly. Chang Ho looked down at him and said calmly, "Ah, so it even works on an S rank." Ji-ryo was terrified. "A recovery potion, you idiot!" He screamed, "Kang Chang Ho, what the hell are you doing?" Chang Ho turned around and said, "Kim Ji-ryo," his mouth moving slowly. "Have you ever heard of a gate called the Iron Maiden? Up north in Europe," he sneered. "It's basically a guarantee that in this dungeon, one of the hunters has to be sacrificed." He shuddered. "So you're planning to sacrifice him in the dungeon?" Kang Chang Ho's voice turned cold. Besides, according to the current metrics for S-rank dungeons, the survival rate is only 60%, regardless of the hunter's rank. He hoisted Jong Ha-seong onto his shoulder and continued, "Those odds aren't high enough to bet your life on, are they? I just want to make sure we have a fighting chance." Ji-hyo looked down deep in thought. Logic-wise, it made perfect sense. If this dungeon truly required a human life, they needed a sacrificial lamb, preferably Kang Chang Ho or Jong Ha-seong. But he wasn't in a position to make that call. Reluctantly, he decided it might be best to just follow the S-rank hunter's plan. He glared at him, seething with frustration. But to demand an F-rank hunter take the hit while here, there are two S-rank hunters. That's just wrong. Seeing this, Ji-hyo couldn't stop his hand from instinctively reaching into the lion statue's mouth. "Wait," Ji-hyo interjected. "I'll open the door. Just put Jong Ha-seong down." Chang Ho narrowed his eyes. "Oh," suddenly playing the hero, "you should have just stayed put when the others went down." He didn't care at all. "I'll make sure you survive." Ji-hyo felt helpless. It seemed there was no room for negotiation. He was panicked, wondering how to save Jong Ha-seong now. Chang Ho continued, "Judging by the statue's blood-draining ability, this trial will be over soon anyway." Suddenly, another door opened. Both men froze. In front of them stood a goddess statue. Chang Ho's jaw dropped. "The exit," Ji-hyo thought to himself. "Is it really over? Just like that?" Chang Ho shook his head. "No. But the Iron Maiden has already appeared here. This dungeon is over." On the goddess statue's hand sat a glowing golden ring. He muttered, "I'm losing my mind. We definitely needed a sacrifice to live, that's the only reason. Biwas. Why I chose Jong Ha-seong." He kept rambling. "If he wakes up and starts complaining, I'm going to have a lot of trouble." Ji-hyo cut him off. "There's a reward inside the fountain." He walked over and carefully picked up the item from the statue's hand. Surprised, he said, "It's a magic tool." He turned back to look at Chang Ho. "When Jong Ha-seong wakes up, maybe you'll want to use this to apologize." Chang Ho just gave a faint, cold smile. "Picking a fight with the top hunter isn't something you can just sweep under the rug." He explained, "The association won't let this slide. Wouldn't it be easier if we just sacrificed him right now?" Chang Ho's voice dropped. "Since we're still inside the gate, do you think I should just kill him?" Ji-hyo was shocked. What? Chang Ho smirked slightly. The body will vanish once the gate closes anyway. The only remaining issue is the witness. He stepped closer, his voice cold. You don't have any reason to keep the fact that I killed Jong Ha-seong a secret. Ji Hyo stared back, suspicious. So you're planning on killing me too? Chang Ho smiled menacingly. Come on, don't say it like that. Why would I have to kill you? Instead, I just want a small favor. He placed a hand on Ji Hyo's shoulder and squeezed slightly, a dark smile spreading across his lips. You can just tell them that you took down Jong Ha-seong, can't you? Chapter 13. Chang Ho had once taken down a monster, thanks to a rare item he obtained from an A-rank monster, the lethal dragon, known as the Dragon's Eye. It wasn't just a trophy. The Dragon's Eye had many functions. It provided clear vision to identify distant objects, boosted magic power, and even the ability to judge the level of an awakened person's power with the naked eye. With those eyes, he never had to squint to see clearly, until just now. He frowned slightly. He thought to himself, did I misjudge? Chang Ho watched him silently, speculating. This is some strange magic I've never seen before. The total amount of mana isn't much, but maybe this guy possesses that skill, the skill that hunters all over the world craved. Returning to the moment the two first met, Chang Ho had walked over with a sharp gaze. He asked, "What's your name?" The voice that replied was calm. "Kim Ji Hyo." He continued, "Your rank?" The answer didn't change. F rank. Chang Ho narrowed his eyes. Lying to me. An F rank dares to look me straight in the eye, like this. The atmosphere between them turned heavy. Ji Hyo kept his gaze steady and cold. He thought, to normal people, or low rank, awakened, a high rank awakened is like a giant beast. It had been a long time since Chang Ho had been to a convenience store. Kim Ji Hyo, an F rank, wasn't just some nobody. To satisfy his small curiosity, Chang Ho tried provoking Kim Ji Hyo a little. He wasn't afraid of challenges, whether it was a sudden traffic accident or being offered a lavish reward worth hundreds of millions. However, contrary to his expectations, Kim Ji Hyo remained indifferent to everything. That was exactly why Chang Ho found him interesting. He was so different from what Chang Ho had imagined. Was he actually ignoring an A-rank hunter like him? Chang Ho, who was always the center of attention, actually liked Kim Ji Hyo's uniqueness. So surely it wasn't just because of Kim Ji Hyo's recent attitude that was bothering him. Returning to reality, he said, "Can you testify that you took down Jong Ha-seong?" he persuaded. Even if Jong Ha-seong remembered the situation, it would be hard to prove. In court, the testimonies of the raid members are prioritized. Chang Ho emphasized, "You just need to say one thing." He tilted his head. There was a conflict during the raid, and you had to calm Jong Ha-seong down. Ji Hyo just raised an eyebrow. "What if I refuse?" he said shamelessly. "Then I can't be dragged down. Alone, can I?" Chang Ho thought to himself. Actually, I could handle Jong Ha-seong on my own. His eyes were filled with intrigue as he looked at Ji Hyo. "Kim Ji Hyo, I'm curious. What is the ability you're hiding?" Deep down, he was still silently calculating. If you're really hiding something, you should have reacted to this unreasonable threat. But Zireo agreed immediately. "All right, I'll just go tell them that I was the one who knocked Jong Ha-seong out. That's it." This answer made Chang Ho freeze. What, is it really that simple? He stared at him, completely bewildered. No, there isn't a single sign of fear in his expression. That meant he wasn't disagreeing out of fear. Chang Ho wondered, could it be to avoid confrontation? A thought flashed through his mind. He recalled that the guy himself said he couldn't enter S-rank gates recently, meaning he could do it before. He thought to himself, so Kim Ji Hyo is actually a high-rank awakener. If he's intentionally lowering his magical level to that of an insect, he furrowed his brows. It must be miserable to be gagged and forced to wear a restrictor. No wonder Couldn't even guess what kind of awakener he is. Chang Ho looked at him puzzled. But is it really necessary to lower your rank all the way to F? I want to probe a bit more. But after a moment of thought, he spoke up. All right, well thought out. Chang Ho turned away and instructed, now let's get out of this damn dungeon. Let's leave it at that for now. Zareo thought to himself, damn, I'm out. Thank God. The two kept walking. When they exited the gate, the blinding light made him pause. We're out. In front of them was a crowd of reporters pushing and shoving. Finally, the hunters have exited the third gate. Zareo slightly furrowed his brows. Why are there so many people here? The crowd erupted. Turn on the cameras. Turn them on. Get over there. Congratulations on surviving. Can you tell us what kind of gate that was? The monsters. What level were they? Is there anyone else still alive? Every microphone was pointed at him. How many hunters started the raid? Zareo was momentarily stunned. He wondered, wait, aren't all the exits concentrated here? Everyone's gaze shifted. A shout rang out. It's Hunter Kang Chang Ho Zhong Haseong is here too. The crowd was buzzing. But why is Zhong Haseong unconscious? He slowly stepped out. Just then, a girl from the association approached. Hunter Kang Chang Ho, we need to ask you something. He asked back, are you from the association? She nodded. That's right. She continued, I have many questions, but it seems there is one priority. Why is Hunter Zhong Haseong unconscious? Chang Ho hesitated. Regarding this, she was surprised. Don't tell me he was hit by a trap in the gate. He shook his head. No, there was some disagreement about choosing who would sacrifice themselves. He pointed at Zareo. So that guy knocked Zhong Haseong out. Zareo sighed, thinking, lying the moment we step out of the dungeon. The girl was agitated. What did you say? Speak more clearly. How could the #1 representative of Korea be taken down by a hunter I've never met before? Zareo furrowed his brows. At least the association staff knows how to think. The girl stepped forward, her voice sharp. Stop lying to us, Kang Chang Ho, tell us the truth. She bluntly questioned, aren't you the one who did that to Zhong Haseong? He scoffed. Hey! His eyes flashed with a fierce glint as he glared at Zareo. Instead of just standing there listening, why aren't you saying anything? Zareo took a deep breath. With no other choice, he spoke up. You see, Zareo admitted, I am the one who knocked out Hunter Zhong Haseong. The air instantly froze. The girl was stunned, and everyone around was terrified. For a brief moment, Chang Ho smirked in satisfaction. Zareo explained, but I didn't intend to hurt him. I just made him sleep for a bit to make the raid proceed more smoothly. I will apologize to Hunter Zhong Haseong when he wakes up. The girl stammered, no way if it wasn't an S-rank hunter. Chang Ho chimed in, I told you it wasn't me already. Right after that, his face went pale and his unsteady steps made the girl panic. Kang Chang Ho, he replied softly. Can't you see? He looked at the girl. Do I look like I could do anything to Zhong Haseong? Zareo thought to himself. Chang Ho also lost a significant amount of blood while inside. I thought it wasn't serious. So that meant he did it on purpose. The reporters were noisy. Wait then. A flurry of mics were pointed at him. Did he really do that to Zhong Haseong? Did that hunter really make Zhong Haseong unconscious? Did you take down an S-rank hunter? Zareo whispered. That's right. He moved his lips to confirm to the entire crowd. That's right, I did it. Instantly, hot news exploded on the internet. Seong Daily Zhong Haseong unconscious. Cause conflict with a hunter. Reporter Kim of Seong Daily Hunter Zhong Haseong unconscious after a mass disappearance incident. The cause was the subgate, not monsters. Elsewhere, Haseong sat on his hospital bed. He furiously crumpled the newspaper in his hand. Kim Ji-seo, did you do that to me? Yoon Seung looked calmly in the other person's direction and said, Brother, I saw that article this morning before it was taken down. Did you really take down Zhong Haseong? Zareo brought a spoon of rice up, his gaze not shifting. Oh, that. They had already started realizing the problem inside. So that's why he wanted to meet him today. So while enjoying his meal, Zareo replied, you could say that. This terrified Yunseo. Zareo then changed the subject. You were stuck in the subgate, right? You aren't hurt, are you? Hearing this, the kid's eyes immediately went from suspicious to shining bright. He's worried about me again. After that, responding, of course, thanks to you pushing me aside, Suddenly, his phone rang. Zareo said calmly, hold on, I have a call. He thought to himself, who is this? Hello? The voice from the other end of the line rang out, is this Hunter, Kim Zareo's number? The next few seconds directly changed the expression on Zareo's face. I am Jong Haseong. The hand holding the spoon also froze for a moment. Oh yes. Looking at the kid who was still blankly staring on the other side, Zareo waved his hand a few times. Yoon-seung, you eat first, okay? His mind was in a bit of a chaotic, restless state, thinking, I left my phone number with the association because I wanted to apologize in person. How do I apologize? Should I turn on a video call and bow? While the kid behind him was still focused on the pile of food on the table, the sound from the other side continued. I have some questions about yesterday. Memories of that day quickly rushed back. Are you the one who knocked me out? Hearing these words, Zareo felt a bit awkward. There's something strange about this. The man on the other side was pushing his IV stand down the hospital hallway with one hand, and I continued to patiently tell the truth. I suddenly passed out that day, so I don't remember anything. I suspect Hunter Kang Chang-ho did it, but I'm not sure. According to what he said, Jong Ha-seong remembers being hit on the back of the head, but the problem is what he saw when he turned around. The man's voice sounded slightly agitated as he asked, can you explain what happened at that time? Hearing this, Zirao's expression went rigid, and he felt strangely guilty. Oh no, I'm done for. This S-ranker is suspicious, and these strange news reports keep popping up. Should I just tell him straight up that it was me, Kang Chang-ho? But why would Jong Ha-seong trust me? Interspersed with a long drawn-out sigh, Zirao's steady voice rang out. I found out, after looking into this, the reason Dong Ha-seong is called a national hero is not just because he's a symbol of justice. His physique and the energy that man radiates are overwhelmingly intense. They are absolutely not the small fry enemies we usually encounter. It's simply because of the massive number of gates he has cleared. Zirao felt a bit anxious as he listened. In other words, he's a workaholic who only focuses on clearing gates. Would someone like him even care about protecting an F rank like me? Does he even have what it takes to fight Kang Chang-ho? Finally, under Zirao's curious gaze, that steady voice spoke up. I'm sorry, Jong Ha-seong. It was actually me who knocked you out. When that confession came out, both ends of the line wore less than pleasant expressions. Zirao hurriedly made up an excuse he thought was plausible. I was worried you were overworked, so that's why I did it. Just then the sound of a door opening came from behind him. While you were unconscious, I intended to sacrifice myself. I really do have something for you as an apology. It's an item rewarded from clearing the dungeon. His words were suddenly cut off by a loud shout from the other end of the phone. Are you kidding me? Startled, he froze. The other guy continued yelling. What, this is something we could have discussed to resolve, yet you thought you could smooth everything over with some measly item. What you did is truly despicable. Ha-seong frowned, annoyed. You knocked me out inside the gate. So your intention is clear. You planned to sacrifice me to escape safely, didn't you? Wait, now that I think about it, Hunter Kang Chang-ho knew you from the start. You two were in cahoots, weren't you? You've misunderstood. And you? Are you really just an F-rank hunter? Every word made Zirao freeze with undeniable guilt. Enough talking more is just a waste of time. From now on, I'll be watching you. Faced with that verdict, the call lasted a while. I'm sorry. You're okay. It's fine. She handed a thick stack of newspapers to Ha-seong. This is the information you need. Breaking news: S-rank hunter Jong Ha-seong returns in an unconscious state. Reporter Kim. After the Nimbus incident following the mass disappearance of hunters, Jong Ha-seong was found unconscious. The cause wasn't monsters, but a subgate. The woman's steady voice continued. The guild handled it immediately, so all the articles have been taken down. Ha-seong took the papers and read them attentively, looking at the mocking comments below. Knocked out by another hunter. Huh, a national hero. The world's top hunter is like a joke. Don't try to sway public opinion. Honestly, Jong Ha-seong's skills are no joke. The girl behind him said impatiently, "You don't have to read all the comments." But the man remained strangely calm. Even if the articles are gone, the public already knows everything. His low, unpredictable voice sounded. Now the whole world will see that S-rank hunters are not invincible. This made her look at Ha-seong with growing concern, but he maintained a calm demeanor. They are worried. After a moment of thought, he contemplated aloud. As I see it, Hunter Kang Chang-ho is the one behind it all. I investigated that hunter. According to you, is he really just an F-rank hunter? At this piece of information, Ha-seong wasn't too surprised. I also thought so, but something doesn't add up. If that hunter were really just F-rank, Kang Chang-ho wouldn't have let him live. His face looked a bit grim as he continued, Why would Kang Chang-ho have to make a deal or force an F-rank hunter to take the fall? He doesn't have to do that. He could just kill him. The unsaid words were the most thought-provoking. More importantly, Kim Kyeol's eyes looked as if he were watching himself fall. Since awakening until now, no one had ever given him such an uncomfortable feeling. Finally, seeming to realize the problem, he said, As expected, there's a high chance his rank is a fabrication. Contact the association immediately. This made her surprised. No way. I will demand a re-examination of Kim Kyeol's awakening rank. Other visions began to surface. Skills are the superpowers of the awakened. Every person has at least one skill upon awakening, but the magic of this planet still has many limitations. Images of strange mutants with hands full of different colors made the scene even more bizarre. Mages can only use the magic they obtained when they awakened. For example, even if Jong Ha-seong tried to train to the point where he couldn't go any further, he still couldn't master ice magic, a power ordinary people wouldn't dare dream of. If they want to use other types of magic, there is only one way: they must pay a high price to obtain a magical tool called a skill stone. Thinking of himself, that voice dropped a bit. But I am different. I am a reincarnated soul who knows everything about magic. So theoretically, I can use any ability on this earth as long as I meet the conditions. The arrogant tone rang out again. I am a genius. The train of thought continued without breaking. The problem is, I can't show off this talent just yet. Furthermore, the recent incident had attracted the attention of S-rank hunters and others. His hand rubbed the screen, which was displaying countless skeptical comments from the public. Zirao continued. So I'm still trying to study it, and finally, I found a way to use enhancement magic items. Thinking of his own internal organs wearing down due to mana, he took a breath. His body was tattered, so mana couldn't flow completely, but since he was still breathing, I can control a bit of the mana inside, and I will use it to activate the enhancement magic item. But where were the materials for this item? Light shone onto the towering buildings. Exuding an overwhelming aura, Jiraiya looked up and let out a deep sigh. Just then, a loud shout echoed through the Korean magic tower. Didn't you already come by yesterday? You're back again today. You need an appointment to get in here, so stop blocking the entrance. The receptionist walked up to him, questioning him relentlessly. Facing this attitude, he could only calmly reply, I have an appointment today. But at these words, the receptionist smirked, as if she had heard a joke. An appointment, really? Ridiculous. A lowly F-ranker like you. He felt deeply frustrated, thinking, even an F-ranker is a person you know. The obnoxious guy in front of him raised an eyebrow and spat, You just got kicked to the curb and now you claim to have an appointment. Stop lying and get lost. This made Jiraiya frown. It was truly unbearable. Just then, a shout made them both jump. I'm so sorry I'm running late. The company called me out of the blue. They said they'd make it quick. Standing before them was a dapper-looking An Yun-seong walking their way. Jiraiya replied coolly, It's fine. I asked you to come here. You paid off your debt to me a long time ago, but since I didn't know who else to ask, I had to rely on you. He scratched his head like a total dork, smiling, as he said, Oh, don't worry about it. I've got plenty of time. But the appearance of the other person made the blonde guy jump in surprise. Hunter and Yun-seong. The man's attitude did a complete 180-degree turn. I've been following you for a long time. Hunter An Yun-seong. I heard you were the first person to discover that recent dungeon break. I'm a huge fan. This fanboy seemed unable to contain his excitement. He eagerly asked, Why are you here? He quickly replied, I notified the guild in advance. I have matters to discuss with the representative of the Magic Tower. The conversation quickly left the blonde guy stunned and rendered him invisible. Is that so? I'm not sure if the guild master is even here today. But Yun-seong quickly tore down this invisible barrier. She told me to come though. Hearing this, the blonde guy quickly became all smiles. Well, please come in. You can bring your friend too. But looking at the other person, he hesitated and said, As for your friend, company policy forbids S-rank hunters from entering due to security reasons. I'm so sorry. Seeing this attitude, Jiraiya thought helplessly. They're so polite to an A-rank hunter, but for me... Where is this? The Korean Magic Tower, one of the largest guilds managing countless hunters. They mostly make their money through hunters' activities. We have an appointment today to meet the person in charge here. Yun-seong's monotone voice rang out, interrupting his train of thought. An Yun-seong A-rank hunter from the Nail Sisters Guild. I sent an inquiry letter yesterday afternoon. The receptionist quickly produced an entry pass. You're here. The representative's office was on the top floor. The receptionist politely gestured toward the side. The elevator is over there. Just press 60. Are we going alone? Is there no guide? He couldn't keep that question to himself and blurted it out, but the younger guy just said confidently, Let's just give it a go. The elevator moved rapidly, the numbers on the screen flashing until it reached 60. They were easily overwhelmed by the sight before them. He stammered, Yun-seong. Something was wrong. In front of them was Esther, resting her chin on her hand, looking off into the distance. Staring at the bizarre scene before him with suspicion, he whispered, Something feels off, right? Jiraiya hesitated and continued, I'm sure I pressed 60. But why did we stop at the second floor? Is the elevator broken? Yun-seong broke into a cold sweat and replied, I'm sorry I forgot to mention it, but it seems we're being tested. This left Jiraiya confused. A test? He continued. There's a rumor that the owner of this building, or in other words, the guildmaster, has a rather strange hobby. It's understandable though. There are only 3 S-rank hunters in Korea, so getting an appointment with her is incredibly difficult. Everyone here acts like they're sure to meet the visitors. But once you're in the building, they lock you in a maze of their own making. Looking at the scenery in front of them, Jiraiya asked, This is a maze, right? He quickly replied, That's right. The entire building is a maze. You have to find your own way to the top floor. Looking closely at Yun-seong's seriousness, he could only think, So that's how it is. I'll only meet those who pass my challenge. Huh. Jiraiya looked at the expression of the person in front of him and tentatively suggested, How about we take the stairs? But when his hand touched the doorknob, only the sound of a locking mechanism clicking echoed. Looking at the scene outside the glass, he muttered to himself, What a scam. We just came from the second floor, and now we're jumping straight to the parking lot in the basement. This also frustrated Yun-seong. Yeah, I heard that if you open a door, it leads to a random place keeping you running in circles so you can't get out. Let's head back to the second floor. Yun-seong had no other choice but to agree. Yeah. As they walked, he asked, "How many people have passed this challenge?" He hesitated and replied, "I'm not sure, actually. I haven't heard any news. Maybe no one has ever passed it." He turned his head to look at the other person. "How can that be? There's no way not a single person has passed it, because the staff working here must know the solution. Do you have any clues at all?" He didn't know how to answer properly. Only a few people in management knew. With a skeptical tone, he looked around and spoke up. "How could we possibly solve such a complex maze on our own, unless they want us to waste expensive items just to decipher it? How are we supposed to decode such a complex maze on our own, unless they actually want us to waste expensive items just to get through it?" Guess so. Watching his strong back as he walked up, he really carries himself like that. We're the ones who urgently requested this meeting. But honestly, having to jump through all these hoops just for that. This person has some really unbearable hobbies, though. I have to admit, this maze is well designed. It almost makes me want to meet the mage who built it. Looking at the path ahead, he couldn't help but let his thoughts wander. A maze created by magic. It feels like someone's masterpiece. Someone with the same origins as me. Meanwhile, seeing his pensive look made the other person even more anxious. "Sir, what should we do now? Should we split up to find the way? If we keep going like this, we're just wasting time." But contrary to the worries, Zero just uttered a reassuring sentence. "Don't worry, Yoon-seong." Then, he quietly told himself, "Even though I'm basically useless right now, there are things I can still do. A magic structure this simple and these primitive people. Debussio can't even find the solution." A hand pulsing with mana rose up. "Found it." This left Yoon-seong stunned as he shouted, "The path to the top floor. Really, how?" Zero held out his hand, then turned his head back to him. "Yoon-seong, let me ask you something. If you wanted the inside of an elevator to be empty, would you move the elevator to another floor?" Yoon-seong blanked out. The inside of the elevator is empty. To him, it was like facing something familiar without a hint of surprise. The structure of an elevator is a vertical shaft, right? So the elevator would move vertically, wouldn't it? Yoon-seong could only respond in surprise. "Ah, yes, that's right." "All right, wait for me a second." Zero's finger lightly touched the button. The first thing to do was to press the button to open the elevator doors. Next, he leaned in to look at the numbers inside, quickly pressed. His selection went inside and hit the button to go to a higher floor. Then, just before the elevator doors closed, he quickly exited the elevator. Zero turned his head and said, "Yoon-seong, step back." Zero quickly kicked the wall nearby. This left the other person confused. "What are you trying to do?" Unlike him, Zero's expression didn't change at all. After that action, large holes gradually revealed themselves inside. This left Yoon-seong terrified. Why would you suddenly do that? But there wasn't much time for him to think or be surprised. "Let's go, Yoon-seong." "Follow you where?" Zero patiently explained. "This floor is connected to the one above through a gate." His feet quickly leapt off the pillar. "So, jump." "Sir." "Sir Zero." Around his body, strange beams of light gradually began to surround him. Very quickly, Zero landed safely. The light behind him shifted colors. Behind him, noise erupted. "I've jumped into dungeons way more dangerous than this before. So why am I still feeling this scared?" A sudden laugh echoed from an unknown direction. It made him quickly become alert. From far away, where clouds of hazy smoke kept pouring out, a voice rang out, "You two successfully made it here. And you're the fastest among all those who participated in solving my maze. I didn't expect you two to find the emergency exit." The high-pitched voice caressed their ears. "I'm very impressed, but that was only the prelude." Her eyes scanned the two figures before her. The woman spoke. "From now on, your opponent is me, Esther of the Magic Tower. You are the owner of South Korea's Magic Tower, Esther." The voice, sounding as if it were teasing, echoed again. "Now everyone sit down. Hunter and Yoon-seong." She crossed her arms and looked at him. Could you introduce the person next to you? From what I've observed, this person has very strong analytical skills. Esther sat down on the soft chair, quietly assessing him. Because with your mediocre analytical skills, there's no way, Nadis, you could have solved my maze. I set the difficulty high, yet you unraveled it so easily. His eyes briefly scanned the person in front of him. She's the one who created the maze, just like the rumors. Her personality is really one of a kind. Zero cleared his throat to introduce himself. I am Kim Zero. She smiled amicably. I like talented people, Kim Zero. I hope we can be good friends since both of you have rare skills. This left both of them a bit surprised. Both have rare skills. He thought to himself, what does she mean? She continued, awakeners who possess analytical type skills are very rare, so you are considered quite special. Yun Song spoke up, interrupting. Oh, by the way, Ms. Esther, this is a hunter with a curse attribute which is very rare in this world. A sound echoed in his mind. Curse attribute. That's right, I remember reading information about this. Mana radiated powerfully from her body. Esther, an awakener with the curse attribute, hunts monsters by using debuffs like weakening and slowing. This world is only in the early stages of a mana explosion, so it's quite rare to find people who can use complex types of magic. I guess on Earth, the majority of awakeners are like Ha Seong and Kang Chang-ho, who have awakened simple fire-type magic and use it to boost their combat abilities. Awakeners with the ability to create magic shields or heal like An Yun Seong are even fewer. Cursing or mental manipulation must be extremely rare. Sorry for not recognizing you sooner, he said neutrally. I was a bit shocked by the information I just heard. A notification sound quickly appeared. Level +1. Recovery progress has increased. She laughed. Must be that you've been very busy lately, so you haven't been following the news, right? I appear on TV shows quite often, but with analytical skills as impressive as yours, you must receive a lot of job requests, right? Anyway, let's stop with the small talk. She crossed her arms seriously in front of her chest and said, An Yun Seong, you said you wanted to discuss business regarding one of the magic tower's gates, right? You still flinch when someone says your name. Huh. Oh yeah, but actually it's not me, it's... Zero quickly stepped in. I want to enter the gate. Yun Sung is just helping me set up the meeting because I'm a low-level awakened, so I wouldn't have been let in otherwise. As he spoke, he reached into his pocket. Esther asked, What level are you? The man quickly placed his ID card on the table. Looking at it, she exclaimed excitedly, Oh, F rank, that makes sense. Since you're an awakened with appraisal skills, I mean. Compared to them, your level is even lower, so it's no wonder you'd think that. She continued, her voice sharp. So you're saying you can decode my dungeon? I don't see what's so special about that. Then why do you want to enter the gate? If you're looking to collect resources, I can't help you. The resources those trees produce aren't even enough for me. He hurriedly responded. He insisted, I absolutely will not go anywhere near the trees. This only piqued her interest further. So, you're not after the fruit. Even so, it's still hard for me to grant you access to the gate. Zero replied wearily, leaving his sentence hanging. Well, Esther said, sounding bored. If it's not that, then what is it? Since you came here with an Yunsung, I assumed you were with the Nail Sisters Guild. Right. Her gaze suddenly turned fierce. Besides, maintaining a gate exclusively costs a fortune. I don't want to use the blood and sweat of my guild members to help someone from another guild. But if you really want to get in, here's my proposal. Have a representative from your guild come talk to me. Zero felt deeply frustrated, sighing and thinking, she wants someone with actual authority, not just some random employee sent to talk. Is that what you mean? Exactly. Esther seemed to anticipate the worst-case scenarios, saying, I'll be blunt. I'm a serious person, and I don't like to joke. So make sure these words of mine reach the right person. Getting in is easy, just pay up. Hearing this, Zero couldn't help but feel annoyed. A low-level dungeon practically D-rank, what kind of precious resources could it have for her to be acting so cocky? She didn't even know half the useful resources hidden in that dungeon. Calmly he replied, "Hunter Esther. I apologize, but I don't belong to any guild." This left her completely shocked. Huh, and Yunsung doesn't either. The idiot wasn't even subtle. That's right, Mr. Zirio isn't part of any team, let alone a guild. He's a solo-rank hunter. The next claims from this idiot were like poison-tipped arrows. No friends, no connections. Encouraged by that enthusiastic cheering, Zirio continued, "Earlier you said I was an appraisal specialist, but I've never actually done that job. The only person I know in the industry is An Yunsung." This made the idiot behind him emotional, as he covered his face, starry-eyed. "Helping me doesn't benefit any guild. This is purely a personal request." This took Esther by surprise. Her look of genuine shock couldn't be hidden. Zirio watched her reaction and secretly wondered if he should mention that other issue as well. Finally he continued, "And I never intended to ask for a free pass." But as soon as he said that, Esther cut him off. "Wait." Suddenly, she broke into a strange smile. Her smile slowly became eerie and terrifying, sending a chill down Zirio's spine. "What's up with this woman?" She looked at him with intense interest, licking her lips, which terrified him. "Why is she licking her lips all of a sudden? I haven't even mentioned the part that would make her drool yet." Esther questioned Zirio. "So you mean you don't have high-level appraisal skills? Why didn't you just say that from the beginning?" Sitting opposite her, he didn't answer, just sat there quietly taking the heat until she called his name. "Mr. Kim Zirio." He replied, "Yes." She decisively proposed, "Come to the magic tower. I'll hire you immediately. If you agree, you'll get gate access." "That's simple enough. I'll give you the whole gate." Faced with an offer too good to be true, he looked suspiciously at Yunsung sitting next to him and whispered, "Is she serious? Is she actually serious?" Hearing his question, Yunsung used all his knowledge to explain, "Big guilds have a huge supply of magic stones and weapons. People with appraisal skills are highly sought after. Of course, those people can't even tell the purity of magic stones with the naked eye. To avoid being scammed during trades, they need to hire appraisers." Just then, seeing his hesitation, she held up 5 fingers in front of him and said, "When you sign, you'll get a 500 million won bonus." Hearing the amount, he was stunned, not believing his own ears. "What did you say?" His reaction made her ask again, "Is it too little? Did the Nail Sisters offer a better price?" At this point, she lost her cool and shouted, "They even recruited an Yunsung. Why do they keep stealing my people?" Seeing her gradually losing control, Yunsung had to reassure her, "Calm down." Meanwhile, he only cared about the 500 million. He secretly wondered, how many bowls of soup could I buy with that? Opposite him, she tried hard to persuade the two of them. "At the Korea Magic Tower, we already have plenty of excellent appraisers. The workload might not be too heavy." He hesitantly asked, "Do you really want to hire me as an appraiser? For 500 million, hearing that, she didn't even have to think to confirm it. Of course. Having received her confirmation, he felt incredibly excited, imagining himself just sitting at a desk, sorting items, and making a fortune. "Then I won't have to do dangerous hunter work anymore. I'll accept." Just as he was thinking that, she added, "Plus you only have to work 4 days a week." Seeing that, he panicked and cried out, "Huh, you're worried you won't understand." "Let me be specific," she said. "In the appraisal department, you only work 4 days a week with a flexible schedule." That was when he finally snapped to his senses. Wait, work. He remembered what it was like to have a job back in the day. "I regressed just to retire, and now I have to sign an employment contract with my own hands. Overtime, morning meetings with the boss's clients complaining. There is no way I'm signing up to work again." Across from him, she pushed a paper toward him while she spoke. "How about a little extra motivation?" Seeing that he couldn't hold back. "This much," he blurted out. She continued her enthusiastic pitch, saying he'd always be welcomed with open arms if he changed his mind, but he just hung his head and said, "I'm sorry." He continued sadly, I'll just pretend I never heard that offer. Hearing this, she lost her patience. What is it? Tell me exactly how much you want. He quickly denied it. It wasn't about the money. He explained further. To be more precise, I have no intention of joining a guild. As if she finally understood the problem, she looked at him feeling helpless. Is that so? If that's how you feel, then fine. After that, she spoke calmly again. But are you sure? Since you've turned down my offer, you'll have to pay the entry fee for the gate yourself. I wonder if you can even earn that kind of money. This time it was his turn to make an offer. I want to negotiate. I know of a very interesting material. If you mix it with concrete or metal to create the outer shells of buildings, it creates resistance at a certain level. Even if monsters attack, the building can still stand without collapsing. It absorbs mana to maintain a barrier around the entire tower. That would be quite expensive, right? Just this item alone is enough to cover the entrance fee. Once he finished speaking, she cautiously voiced her thoughts. That sounds effective provided that what you mentioned actually exists, he replied. Then feel free to test it. To convince her further, he took out a bag of sand and said, I am the only one who knows the location of this stuff, but since I'm sharing it with you, that is, from last time the thing used to defeat the firewolf. Although he said that she was still skeptical. Could that sand really absorb mana? As for him, the moment he finished speaking, he felt a bit hesitant. Letting it be revealed felt a little risky because people were always scavenging around the gate, so eventually they would find it anyway. Cut to the scene outside the building late in the afternoon. Inside, the assistant spoke up. Ms. Esther, did something bad happen? She was briefly confused, stopped her coffee drinking motion, and replied nonchalantly, Not really a bad thing. I was just teasing those guests from earlier a little bit. The assistant asked suspiciously, Really? She remembered the scene of the two guests leaving in frustration and questioning her. You aren't cursing guests anymore, are you? What did you do to those people? You promised you wouldn't do that again. Faced with the assistant's annoyance, she just replied indifferently, So it's fun. I didn't do anything serious. The worst time was just them getting their feet stuck in the corner of a cabinet. The assistant asked angrily, And what was it this time? She said casually, Just a 30-second sneeze. It's so trivial, so minor. Hearing this, she suddenly realized their expression from earlier. But those people from before didn't seem any different, right? The assistant replied firmly, Yes, exactly, that's the thing. Only then did she put her coffee cup down to think. She pondered, recalling a series of his expressions when she activated her skill. She remembered him calmly drinking his coffee. Don't tell me they were supposed to be sneezing uncontrollably, right? But suddenly she noticed his suspicious gaze. That man was staring right at her. It was a terrifying look. Finally, she realized he must have known everything from the start. Back to reality, she frantically told her assistant, An awakened who can block my curse. And meanwhile, he could even influence an S-ranker. Where did that monster crawl out from? At the same time, the assistant brought the report. Ms. Esther, the appraisal results for that material are in. It really can absorb mana. Upon hearing this, she gasped in shock. Really? Reflecting on it, she realized what he was aiming for. He was willing to give this to someone else. If that's the case, it proves he also wants to make a good impression on me, right? Scary. Bring me the file on Hunter Kim Kiryu. Following the order, the assistant replied, Yes, I understand. She added her goal. I need to know what kind of person he is. Cut to the city at night by a vending machine. He was uncomfortably clutching a trash can, wanting to throw up. Sung stood at a distance, worriedly asking, Are you okay? After being played, he regretfully reminded himself, Remember this well, I am never drinking that stuff ever again. He thought back to the moment he drank that coffee. At first, he was naive enough to believe it was just something for special guests, so he swallowed it, but after finishing, he started coughing, and his face changed color. What is this? It tastes like industrial glue. He thought back to what she said with disappointment. She kept saying it was only for prestigious guests. How dare she feed me this stuff? And to think, we even made eye contact while it was happening. Carefully observing his reaction, she started probing, "Is the coffee not to your liking?" He tried to swallow his discomfort, acting completely normal, as he replied, "It's not bad." But deep down he was thinking, "I can't spit this out, otherwise I'll look like some kind of alien." Mentioning this, he grabbed a bottle of water from the vending machine and sighed, "I almost died there." Shung shifted his focus to something else, curiously asking him, "Kirio, that thing from earlier, you gave it to Esther. You said you're the only one who knows about it. I've never heard of a material like that before, a type of sand that can instantly extinguish the fire from a firebat or reinforce buildings." Facing his question, he just clicked his tongue and replied, "I only just discovered it too." He was still curious and tried to ask more. "Do you know how valuable that thing is? But you chose to give it, to Esther, instead of handing it over to the association. By the way, are you part of the Hunters Association?" Replying to his comment, "No, I don't feel anything about that." Seeing that, he asked, disappointed, "Is that so?" At this point, he also did not hesitate to state his true purpose. "I'm just trying to make a good impression on Hunter Esther." Hearing that, he looked surprised, wondering, "Why is Hunter Esther your ideal type?" He didn't show any embarrassment at all and denied it immediately. "I don't have any feelings for her either." Only then did he fully understand everything. "I see. I guessed wrong twice. Then what are you planning to get from that gate?" Back at his apartment, he lay down and lamented, "Ugh, I'm so exhausted." Then he looked at the golden wings. Let's see, they should be dry by now. He fondly recalled yesterday how he and Yunseoun had entered the gate and how he had made a deal with Esther at that time. In front of the two of them was a swarm of ferocious magic beasts. Even so, Sung didn't flinch. He bravely charged into battle. Thanks to Yunseoun, an A-rank hunter hunting monsters became easier. Thanks to that they could easily collect these. The material needed for magic enhancement crafting is the wings of those fairy-like magic beasts. Mentioning this, he couldn't help but feel proud of him. "I thought I wouldn't be able to find them. It's all thanks to Yunseoun." In his mind, he started calculating. "All right, it's smooth sailing. After collecting the most difficult material, the rest are relatively easy to find. One more step and I can regain my former glory. Once I can use magic, that will be when the era of Homo sapiens comes to an end." Returning to reality, he excitedly opened the fridge. "Well, then time to absorb some nutrition for today, I guess." Suddenly, he stopped his movements, listening for any sounds. He looked toward the direction of the noise and shouted, "Who's there? Are you a friend of Kim Gi-ok or a relative?" Responding from outside the door, a man's voice sounded cold. "Come out here." Hearing that tone, he had a bad feeling. Whoever it was, if it was someone he knew while he was alive, things would get a bit complicated. As he opened the door, two burly men appeared before him, with a woman standing in the middle. The woman politely spoke up. "Hello, Kim Gi-ok, I'm from the association," she said, holding up her ID card. "Can you spare some time?" He replied indifferently, "I was just about to eat." Seeing they had no intention of leaving, he asked suspiciously, "What's the matter?" She maintained a firm attitude. "Please come outside for a moment," she added regarding their sudden action. "Sorry for the sudden visit, but the regulation is that in cases like these, it will be carried out without prior notice." She started getting straight to the reason they came there. "Then I will officially inform you of the purpose of this visit. A report suspecting fraudulent rank registration has been filed against you, Kim Gi-ok. According to the Hunters Association's investigation results, you, Kim Gi-ok, are suspected of falsifying your rank." Hearing that his voice faltered, What are you talking about?" Faced with his expression, she continued firmly, "We will conduct a rank re-examination. Please come with us to the Hunters Association right now." He repeated helplessly. Immediately, she replied coldly, "That's right. If you don't want to be arrested, He looked at the presence of the two men beside her and said weakly, "This is..." He was disappointed when thinking about his meal. "Well, it seems like I can't have lunch today." On the vehicle escorting him to the association, sitting in the front seat, was the image of CEO Uzion, the woman with her signature long hair, to explain why this person appeared in front of Kim Gi-ok right now. It's necessary to turn back a few weeks from the present moment. She sounded full of intrigue when mentioning his name, Kim Gi-ok, while sitting in the car, he recalled. Surely at that time, when he answered her, "My rank is F," she had asked back skeptically, "You say you are F rank, then how could you have taken down the beginner killer?" At that time he didn't think much and answered evasively that it was simply luck. That idiot? He just banged his head against the wall by himself. At that time, Kim Gi-ok's way of dealing with things was completely unlike an F rank person, so she started suspecting that he had faked his rank from that moment on. And after checking his records, her suspicion grew even stronger. Is he really F rank? He's only entered a gate once, so this is his entire experience as a hunter. A person who has only ever entered an F rank gate once claims to have taken down a C rank monster in a single attempt in broad daylight. Is that believable? After looking into it, she shifted from suspicion to concern. If it's true that an awakened has faked their rank during registration, then it will be very dangerous. I wonder what a guy like that would do when blending in with hunters weaker than himself. Regardless, CEO Uzion didn't have the authority to re-examine him, so in the end, she just filed a report suspecting Kim Gi-ok of rank fraud. Following protocol, the matter should have just ended there. But a few days later, after Jong Ho-seong was rescued from the gate, while unconscious, and filed a formal complaint against Kim Gi-ok, the situation completely changed. Look, I'm just a small-time civil servant, but if even a national hero like Jong Ho-seong is suspicious and files a report, it's a whole different story. There's no doubt about it, Kim Gi-ok definitely faked his rank. I thought when he got the notification for a re-examination, he'd try to run or resist, but he actually complied quite obediently. How suspicious. She recalled the house she saw earlier. It was too small and run down. If he had even reached D rank, his life wouldn't be that bad. It wouldn't be that bad at all. Is he the modest type, or does he have some hidden assets? As she was lost in thought, he asked in confusion, "Excuse me, how much does this re-examination cost? I don't have any money." She quickly replied, "The testing fee is around 480,000 won, but if the re-exam is requested by the investigation division, there's no fee." She added, "However, that's only if the results come back normal. If they find fraud, you'll have to pay the fine and cover the entire cost of the exam." Upon hearing that, he couldn't help but worry. Doesn't that mean I'm in danger? He was left wondering how on earth he was going to deal with this. Suddenly, he looked toward the testing station. Wait a second, that's the measuring tool. With that equipment, a person with respiratory issues won't be measured accurately. Seeing that, he felt completely at ease, knowing that especially for someone like Kim Gi-ok, with his tuberculosis and damaged lungs, he didn't need to worry about anything. What could that garbage device possibly measure? How sickening, how nauseating. He was just starting to feel excited again when he heard her call out, "Mr. Kim Gi-ok, Mr. Kim Gi-ok, please follow me this way. The re-examination will use the latest equipment." He blurted out in a panic, the latest. Now he was truly terrified, realizing that the old method had significant accuracy issues when dealing with patients who had lung problems. Last year there was a public announcement about updating the testing procedures. Those earthlings had realized this weakness long ago. They even improved it. Meanwhile, she looked at him meaningfully and said, "Mr. Kim Gi-ok, you've had plenty of chances to adjust your rank yourself." Hearing her say that, he acted as if he understood the issue and hurriedly said, "Wait a minute. I think there's a misunderstanding here." Not waiting for him to explain, two large men hoisted him up. "We're starting right now." They also didn't forget to remind him, "You don't need to take off your metal items." Everything happened too fast. He only had time to cry out, "No, wait." At the association headquarters, he was informed of the results almost immediately. In her hand was a result sheet accompanied by a warning. If the results show your rank is far from what it was before, to the point where it needs changing, Mr. Kim Gi-ok, you will be considered a rank fraud. I'm sure you've seen it on the news plenty of times. What happens if you're labeled a rank fraud? And him, at this moment, he could only resign himself to his fate. Unbelievable they have such modern machinery. That was fast. Is this the moment where the terrible magical power I've been hiding due to my lung issues for so long is finally going to be revealed? Where do I even start explaining? Actually, I'm an alien, and after taking over Kim Gi-ok's body, Wait. Then he realized the guy was such a chain smoker that his lungs were... No, wait. Then he thought about the worst-case scenario, a 480,000 won testing fee. Awakening value 14 F rank. Meanwhile, she looked at the result sheet and gasped. The reports? There's nothing here. Why are there no reports? Compared to last year's results, it only increased by about 2 points. This increase isn't enough to be an issue, so don't worry. Even this is called an increase. After hearing the results, he wondered, let me ask, is there any possibility that my awakening level will continue? Thought to increase in the future, she explained kindly, no. Normally, once it increases to this point, it stops. Your innate awakening level absolutely will not change naturally. He realized sadly. So, the magic power of this body is really only at F rank, so the reason I keep failing to use magic isn't because of my lungs, the power source being damaged, but because this body was empty from the very beginning. No way. Then at that time, the other day I walked down this same road, but the golem didn't see me, and the fact that it only targeted Yoon Seo-eun's team as enemies to attack. Could it be that from the start, it didn't even consider me an intruder? The more he thought about it, the more uncomfortable he became. Noticing his reaction, she asked confusedly, "What's wrong, Hunter Kim?" He didn't answer her question. Deep down, he gloomily accepted the truth. Now I have to admit it. My rebirth spell has failed, and now I shift to the city scene at dusk. He looked out and told himself, well, just because you're a great archmage doesn't mean you won't experience failure. I'm glad I found out sooner. In any case, with this, every accusation had been cleared. As he was lost in thought, her voice rang in his ears. I'm sorry. Are you really okay not going to the hospital? Side effects from the low-level awakener tests are common. If you're still feeling dizzy, he just politely replied, thanking her for her concern. But are you really okay? She looked at him with concern. But right after the exam, she thought, he doesn't look too good. I can't believe I'm actually worried. He recalled this morning, unable to avoid the curiosity, so he asked her, CEO Yoonjun, what's wrong? How did you know I was home this morning? She smiled awkwardly and shared her work with him. Ah, that's my awakening skill. My skill. I am a seeker. To put it simply, it's a tracking ability. If you search for it on the PC Wiki, you'll find more detailed information. I can locate an object or a person in real time. My job is to use that ability to track down criminals. As she was talking enthusiastically, he suddenly said, wait a second, CEO Yoonjun. He pointed out his discovery under her feet. In the direction he pointed, there was a dead raccoon covered in blood. She looked flustered. This, Yoonjun bent down. She was startled, eyes widening as she looked at the ground. There was a raccoon that had been hit by a car. The two hesitated, saying, it's just a raccoon, probably a traffic accident. She mentioned that things like this happen quite often around here. Suddenly, Yoonjun saw Zareo grab the raccoon by the ear. As he inspected it, he remarked, what a waste of something so valuable. Hearing him say that, she was flustered, thinking to herself, valuable, does he find it regrettable? Then she asked, confused, that thing has been dead for quite a while, hasn't it? Touching it like that, isn't it a bit unhygienic? Zareo stood by his decision. If it's dirty, you can just wash it off. Well then, CEO Yoonjun, I'll take my leave now. Seeing that, she was a bit startled. Oh yes. A moment later, Yunjin heard him add, "Just turn at this alley and you're home. We're almost there." She looked at him dazed and replied, "Ah, go ahead, take care." Then she glanced back down at the raccoon. Is he planning to take it home to bury it? In Anfori, the materials for creating golems are mainly divided into two types. One is made from black stone and metal, called a vocal golem. The other uses animal carcasses called an organic golem. In short, Kim Zireo had just received a good experimental sample, that's all. Zireo walked back with a cold expression, the green slime sitting on his shoulder. He thought happily, what luck. On this planet, biological materials are just scattered all over the road. When I finish the magic boosting potion, I'll test the spells right here. First, Zireo stood in the middle of the area. She watched his retreating back, whispering to herself, "He's actually warmer than I thought." But for the people on Earth who didn't know about this, Kim Zireo's actions had left a strong impression. The sky had turned dark, and a luxurious house turned its lights on. Zireo placed the raccoon on a plate inside where there was a yellow light. He was confused, muttering, "What is this? Why is the compatibility so low? Is it the lungs? I don't have the proper equipment yet. I'm trying to increase the concentration, making my lungs hurt. Even if the mana is just F rank, at least I should be able to activate the magic right." Suddenly, Zireo's phone rang. He picked it up, annoyed, saying, "I'm already in a bad mood. Which lunatic is calling at this hour?" It was already 10 o'clock at night. Zireo had finished cleaning up. He looked at the messages, guessing, "It must be because of the post I read online just now. I added the sense skill to Kim Zireo's profile, and so that information became public even to outsiders. Because of that, ever since I added the sense skill, invitations from scouting teams have been pouring in constantly. It's really annoying." Zireo sat on the bed, muttering with annoyance, "I'm even too lazy to refuse. I'm so exhausted." The phone rang once more. He picked it up and replied irritably, "What now?" On the screen appeared a girl, Chocolat. Zireo hesitated, saying, "The best in the world." He muttered, confused, "Meet at the convenience store right now, why?" After that, he shoved his hands into his pockets and complained, "I'm exhausted." "Oh, but they said they prepared something for me. Ignoring it wouldn't be nice." Suddenly, he saw a car blocking the path. He froze, suspicious. He walked up to the car, asking guardedly, "What is it?" Zireo looked into the car, wondering, "Why did you stop here?" Then, he turned to leave. Suddenly, the car door opened. A man shouted something and stepped out, preparing to attack him. His hands were ready to grab Zireo's neck. He wasn't alert at all. The man immediately tightened his grip on his throat. He panicked and grabbed the man's arm, thinking, No, I can't." His consciousness was fading. "My head hurts so much." Zireo saw the other guy staring at him dizzily. In his remaining consciousness, he pondered, "If it were magic, I could handle it. But a physical attack? This is impossible. Wait, how long have I been out? Where am I?" Zireo struggled with his hands, then thought in panic, "This planet is truly a scary place. Who would do something this horrific?" Suddenly, a cold voice spoke up. "Is the one standing there the F rank?" The other man answered confidently, "Yes, we caught him as soon as he was lurking nearby." Zireo was blindfolded. His senses became sensitive. He wondered, confused, "Are they targeting me? Maybe they have a grudge against Kim Zireo." The two were buzzing with discussion. "Good thing we made the deadline. But are you really F rank? I intentionally had the D ranks attack suddenly, yet he didn't even flinch. We must ensure nothing is broken. If you see any cracks, fix them immediately. Listen, I'm no amateur." A sound rang out. One of the two asked in surprise, "Oh, the boss is here." The man called boss replied coldly, "Yes, it's me." It made Zireo feel a bit tense, thinking someone else is here again. He immediately ordered the two, "Everyone bow, this is our VIP guest." They all bowed in unison, saying, "Welcome, sir." He spoke in a low voice. "The VIP will personally inspect the goods. You all go and prepare now." They answered in unison, understood. Jiro twitched his head, wondering about the merchandise. Chang-ho noticed his slight movement, smirked, and growled, "Wait a second. That kid tied up over there. Is he awake?" He walked slowly toward Jiro. Jiro panicked, thinking, What's going on? How did he know? Then he ripped the blindfold off. As he pulled it away, Chang-ho said excitedly, Well, long time no see, Hunter Kim Jiro." Jiro sat on the chair and replied hesitantly, "Kang Chang-ho, why are you here?" Chang-ho glanced at him and said, "Looks like you were dragged here out of the blue. You probably don't have a clue what's happening, so let me explain. Recently, there's been a huge rumor in the industry. They say there's a hunter with top-tier sensory skills strong enough to break the seal of the magic tower. But the problem is the rank of this sensory hunter. It's F rank. Not only is he unworthy of such status, but owning high-level skills like that just makes him an easy target for criminals." Jiro looked at Chang-ho defensively and asked cautiously, "So, what do you people intend to do with me?" His face lit up with a grin as he replied, "Obviously sell you. In this world, there are many people who want to hide the true power of the items they possess. And to do that, you need your own personal appraiser. You know, contract fees for professional appraisers aren't exactly cheap, right?" Jiro said in a low voice. "So, bypassing the law makes it cheaper, is that it?" Hearing this, Chang-ho quickly retorted, "You can't even compare them, especially when it comes to maintenance fees." Jiro's face darkened as he realized, "So I've been captured by an illegal awakened trafficking organization." He looked coldly at Jiro and said, "Especially those with a rank of D or below, their mental state is weak and easily exploited. I work here, so I understand awakened people well. Just keep them enslaved and you won't have to worry about betrayal. It's way less of a headache." The others laughed mockingly. Jiro stammered internally, "Is this what they call VIP or something?" Then Jiro immediately asked, Kang Chang-ho, is there any way that you could help me out?" Chang-ho walked away, stopping briefly to reply, "Why? Should I do that? I'm just a guest here after all. My business here is something else. I just happened to pass through. Nice catching up with you, Hunter Kim Jiro." A moment later, he hurriedly ordered, "The new shipment is here. Take that F-rank guy to the upper floor." The two thugs smirked and replied, "Yes, sir." Jiro's face went pale with worry. This. I shouldn't have been reborn in a place like this." He was dragged to a room. The door creaked open. They shoved him hard into the designated dark room. They were wearing gas masks. They slammed the door shut and one of them muttered, "Hey, doesn't that guy have any mana? Whatever, he'll collapse soon anyway." Jiro glanced at the closing door. A plan started forming in his head. He sat up, tiredly guessing, "Just because I was brought here doesn't mean I'll be sold immediately. Why would they leave me alone in here?" Suddenly, a faint sweet scent drifted past his nose. He thought, "Wait a minute. There's a sweet scent, like some kind of flower." Jiro looked around the room and spotted an incense burner. He suspiciously guessed, "Is that a magical artifact?" Sensa is a type of sleeping tool. Given the strength of this scent, it could probably put even B-rank awakened ones to sleep. Of course, for an archmage like me, this stuff doesn't do anything at all. But now isn't the time to worry about that. I need to get out of here quickly. Jiro nimbly took out his shoelaces, put a string in his mouth, and while pulling to snap the ropes on his hands, he silently prayed, Please, help me, magic." The rope on his hands snapped into pieces. He thought, happily, "Yes, even if I've been hit with some brainwashing, being sold off in a situation where I can't use even a shred of magic would be extremely dangerous." Jiro slowly reached into his pocket and muttered, "First, I have to report this. But then, where is my phone?" He said in disappointment, "No, it's gone." He thought helplessly, "True. Why would they leave personal belongings on a kidnapped victim? Then, what can I use to escape?" Right now, Jiro stood up, looked at the incense burner, and walked toward it. A worn-out chain lay in his palm. Jiro tightened his grip on the chain and muttered, "In the end, I have no choice but to use this." Just then, a strange sound came from behind the two men. The door in front of them suddenly flashed with light. The men were shocked by this mysterious glow. What was that? Before he could finish, an object came flying from out of nowhere and smashed straight into his face. The other guy saw this and panicked. "You bastard! How did you—" A sound echoed in his ear, making him break out in a cold sweat. The very next second he felt dizzy and collapsed to the ground. Jiro stepped out with a fierce expression. He looked at the item in his hand with a satisfied gaze. "It's pretty effective, actually." Just then, Jiro noticed the phone on the ground. Curiosity stirred within him. "Before someone finds out and comes here, I have to move fast." He picked it up and opened it, feeling incredibly satisfied. Did these guys drop this perfect timing? Jiro dialed the police station. After a short, while a voice on the other end answered, "Yes, this is the police. How can I help you?" Jiro walked away and reported to the police, I've been kidnapped." The police on the other side were stunned for a moment. "Yes, hello. Could you repeat that? I didn't catch that?" Jiro patiently repeated what he had said once more. "I told them I was just robbed, hello, but the police just hung up on me, point blank." This left Jiro incredibly curious and annoyed. What is this? Can't they hear anything? Is this phone broken or something? But he still didn't give up. Jiro kept typing, drafting a text message. "Let's try sending a message instead. Will it be okay?" Just as the message was sent, the police side immediately replied, "Request received. It may take some time to mobilize forces. In case of an emergency, please contact 112 immediately." Jiro kept drafting and sending messages. "How long will it take to get here?" The police automated message popped up again. "Request received. It may take some time to mobilize forces. In case of an emergency, please contact 112 immediately." Seeing that sending messages was useless, Jiro felt frustrated. What the hell? What kind of robotic response is this? Can they even read my messages? The report has been received, right? So, this feels so unsafe. He still continued to draft another line. This is no good. I have to find another way to ensure my safety. Yunseo, this is Kim Zero. After sending the message, he shoved the phone into his pocket. His hand gripped his weapon tightly. Zero tightened the chain and hesitated, wondering, should I start the escape plan now? Meanwhile, inside the dark basement, two shadowy figures appeared. Suddenly, both of them felt something strange approaching. Hey, what is that? Before their eyes, a mysterious light shone, sparking their curiosity. There's something blurry inside that light. Someone was calmly stepping out, making the two men curious. Who is that guy? Did one of us dye their hair? No sooner had he finished speaking than Zero charged in with his weapon, looking arrogant. He gained momentum, lunging forward and swinging the box on the chain straight at the two men. The very next second, both were struck down painfully and unexpectedly. Realizing the current situation, the two men gasped in shock. Wait, could it be? You're that awakener we just kidnapped. As soon as he said that, Zero's box slammed right into their faces. With just that one strike, both men lost consciousness and slowly slumped to the ground. Seeing that, Zero just scoffed, what a bunch of idiots, can't even do anything right. Then he scanned his surroundings. To get out of here, he had to find an exit first. But he didn't know the layout of this building, and the windows were all boarded up. Suddenly, a strange feeling came from behind Zero. He turned around immediately and witnessed a new wave of magical energy pouring out. The magic was so strong it could be tracked. Even in this weak F-rank body, I can still sense it. It's a gate, no mistake. Right outside this building there's a gate. Most gates that hunters track are usually in places like forests or large empty fields. If I use this as a landmark, maybe I can get out. As Zero was lost in thought, a group of aggressive people appeared behind him. Wait, what's going on? The F-rank prisoner escaped. He quickly and quietly slipped away toward the hallway. First the stairs I have to go down. Zero carefully took each step. Suddenly he felt his whole body stiffen as if some force was trying to control him. His eyes flickered with a hint of fear. Damn it, I haven't even run yet, and my legs… Before he could process anything more, the crowd behind him caught up. There he is. They quickly spotted Zero and demanded, how could an F-rank guy escape catch him right now? Just then, a man who seemed to be the leader stepped forward and interrupted. Wait, that thing he's holding. He seemed to recognize the object and immediately warned everyone, hold your breath. Zero gave a scornful laugh. Now, even if you hold your breath, it's too late. Right after that, he swung the object hard, causing the scent inside the box to spray out intensely. The aggressive blonde man quickly covered his nose, coughing violently. I can't breathe. Zero kept swinging the box, aiming to spread the scent even further. He even opened the lid and dumped all the contents inside. One of the guys in the group couldn't take it and charged forward, cursing, "You F-rank piece of trash." He mustered his courage and lunged, intending to teach Zero a lesson. Taken by surprise, Zero was shoved hard against the wall. The guy covered his nose tightly but kept sneering. Normally, I shouldn't touch the merchandise that's up for sale like you, but today, you've met your end. Before he could finish, Zero gripped his arm tightly. Then, his other hand, gaining momentum, punched straight into his chin. Following that, a series of kicks sent his opponent flying several meters away. After that, Zero sat down on the ground, exhausted. He was panting heavily. I'm dying of exhaustion. Next, Zero picked up the chain again. When he saw the wooden box was empty, he was a bit panicked. What's this? My mana dropped this fast. Damn it, escaping and fighting is already tiring enough. Now I'm being tracked too. Zero looked fearfully toward the source of the magical energy and concluded that from now on, nothing would be easy. A new thought flashed through his mind. The exit. No mistake. From the other side of that door, I can feel the fluctuations of the gate. It reminds me of the usual structure of buildings in this world. With a door that big, it definitely leads outside. Zero walked up and gently placed his hand on the door, pushing it open. Surprisingly, this door wasn't locked. Since it wasn't locked, Zero opened it. With a door this huge, it's bound to lead outside. Zero approaches, reaching out to gently push it open. It wasn't even locked, so the door swings open easily for him. It was surprisingly easy, but just then, a sound came from inside the room. Director and Awakened just escaped from the floor above. Before he could finish his sentence, the people inside were completely stunned to see Zero appear. A middle-aged man stood there, shocked and incredulous. What? How on earth did it turn out like this? How the hell are you managing these guys? How did you let him escape? I'm so sorry, sir. Zero watched the scene, feeling a wave of anxiety. This wasn't good. Zero also noticed that Chang-ho was standing there with a smug, defiant look on his face. The gate is inside the building, and Kang Chang-ho is here too. This is a disaster. If he had only been standing outside the gate, I would have sensed his magical energy and run away. Just then, a bodyguard shouted at him repeatedly, "Hey you F-rank trash, what did you do to the guys upstairs? Could he really have taken down that many people all by himself? You bastard, you said he was only F-rank. Was that a fake report to trick us?" Hearing this, the corner of Zero's mouth twitched slightly. So that's how it is. He couldn't help but wonder to himself, these guys have no idea I used a scent to manipulate the guards upstairs. If only I had lured Chang-ho away, I might have been able to escape. Then he turned his attention to Chang-ho, wishing he wasn't there. The middle-aged man leaned into Chang-ho's ear, whispering apologetically, "I'm sorry, Mr. Kang. We just finished an important transaction, and then this situation happens. I know this is a shameless request, but could you help me out for a moment?" Chang-ho looked surprised, blurting out, "Help you?" The man spoke bluntly. "I only ask that you catch that hunter, because the chairman himself is coming to evaluate the facility." Zero stood there listening intently. Our men are enough to restrain him, but if an S-rank hunter takes action… Everything will be more certain and much faster, right? What a shameless guy. Daring to ask a VIP to do his dirty work. What is he thinking? At this moment, Chang-ho grinned with delight. Of course I'll help. We're in the same boat after all. Hearing that, the middle-aged man laughed in relief. You really do have a sharp instinct. Zero stood by, stunned by Chang-ho's decision. He's actually going along with it. Then he slowly approached Zero. Come to think of it, you need that sensor device, don't you? Since we're here, I'll give you a big discount. Did you hear that, Kim Zero? Chang-ho's eyes flashed with arrogant defiance. You're getting a good deal. I think that guy will respect me quite a bit once I capture you. Facing that provocation, Zero hesitated, his mind racing. What should I do? When will the police get here? Are they even coming? Did Yunseo see my message? Chang-ho kept pressing. So how are you going to run away now? He hesitated for a moment, then leaned into Zero's ear and whispered, There's no exit behind you. You've already exhausted yourself. Even if I let you go, you wouldn't have the strength to run. Facing Chang-ho's provocation, Zero thought, bluntly to himself, You think I want to run? Zero felt stuck. My mouth hurts from all this explaining. Then Zero spoke up. Hunter Kang Chang-ho, have you ever seen me run before? Seeing Zero's steady gaze, Chang-ho hesitated. No. Perhaps you want to... Then Chang-ho recalled their previous encounters. Or that moment Chang-ho looked at him with such arrogance. Zero had just been calm and gone with the flow. Remembering that, Chang-ho's eyes widened. Never, he confirmed. He looked deep into those eyes and continued, Not even once. Chang-ho stood face to face with Zero, his voice calm. Do you mean you have no intention of running away this time? His face showed clear amusement. So, halas we diet here? Just as he was about to say more, Zero cut him off. No, I don't think we need to fight here. Zero raised both hands, his expression so indifferent and cold that it made Chang-ho pause. I surrender. Chang-ho looked momentarily surprised. Surrender. And he didn't stop there. Chang-ho stepped closer, his face just a few inches from Zero's. You took down all the guards to get here. And now you say that... He thought to himself, no, I didn't hit anyone. He thought, he must assume everyone is like him. Chang-ho smiled faintly, his voice dropping low. You want me to believe that surrender? Zero didn't answer, just looked him straight in the eye. Admittedly, if it were me, I wouldn't believe someone who had escaped from me either. Seeing that Chang-ho didn't respond, he thought, now what? Suddenly a blue light flashed, cutting through the tension. What is that? From within the light, a pair of sturdy legs stepped out. The sound of boots landing was definitive. Hey, boss! A young man appeared, his voice steady and calm, in the middle of the white space. A user. Zero looked at him, realizing he had just stepped out of the light gate. A shadow of doubt flickered in his heart. Is this a portal? But when he looked closer, he realized something else. No, it's not a gate. It's a magic conduit. A space teleportation skill. Behind him, a sharply dressed man stepped forward, a smile on his face. Right on time, exactly at 12. As expected, being punctual is your trademark. The other man just gave a slight nod and replied in a friendly tone, Koreans are very good at keeping their word. Chang-ho walked up calmly, hands in his pockets, and greeted him with a smile. So, this is the transporter guy. The old man introduced the young man, an extremely rare mage with space teleportation skills capable of moving people. Hearing that, Chang-ho exclaimed, Good grief, I never thought I'd see one in person. The man gestured toward Chang-ho. This here is the rank S hunter Kang Chang-ho. You already know who he is, right? He laughed and replied, Of course, the top dog in the hunter world, right?